Welcome all. Do you have a motion or
I talk about the, say, give evening and what the board evening.
Good evening. Welcome to the Springboro Board of Education meeting for May
24th.
Roll call, please.
Anderson.
Here.
Bab. Here. Belanger.
Here.
Lunt.
Here.
Stuckey.
Here. Please stand for the pledge.
Back there. I left it back there.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
1.2, do I have a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Anderson.
Yes.
Bab. Yes. Belanger.
Yes.
Lunt.
Yes.
Stuckey.
Yes. 1.3, approval of the May 11, 2017 meeting minutes. I have a motion to accept that.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Anderson.
Yes.
Bab. Yes. Belanger.
Yes.
Lunt.
Yes.
Stuckey.
Yes. Public participation first. Anybody from Springboro Education Association speak tonight?
We don't have anything that we're going to
Nothing
report on
tonight?
tonight. Thank you.
Okay. For the Springboro classified employees, I have a statement that was given to me from Jeffrey Banger and Charlie Pruitt, who are their president and vice president, I believe, for me to read. As the school year ends, we want to extend our appreciation to the open door policy you have created, Mr. Schreier. It has allowed us to bring issues forward that impact our membership in an effort to problem solve and reach a solution. It's been a pleasure working with you this year. We look forward to your continuing work with us. Have a good summer. Mr. Schreier, you want to introduce you?
Mr. President, for the Student Success in Action this month, I'm very pleased that we have two groups. We have the Students Against Destructive Decisions and another group from the high school. And introduce them is our awesome high school principal, Kyle Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Schreier, Board of Education. At the high school, we have a ton of extracurricular activities that we call clubs. And so we want to highlight two of those clubs this evening. Both clubs are going to see they serve a huge purpose at the high school. All the students are positive role models for high school age kids, junior high, and elementary. And as you will see, they're also positive role models for our elderly. So tonight, first to present is our Students Against Destructive Decisions group, which is SAD. That's Madison Herbst, Reagan Fury, Kylie Jaworski, Sammy Reardon. Our advisors are Kathy Beller and Leslie Burry. This group meets monthly, sometimes 2 or 3 times a month. They put a lot of time into the SAD Club. Just as kind of what they do, one of the big things that they do is they do put on the mock car crash, which is a ton of time and planning. So without further ado, here's some of our SAD members.
It's on.
Thank you for having us, and I'm just going to show you a little bit of what SAD does. SAD stands for Students Against Destructive Decisions, and it's the nation's leading youth education and prevention organization, and it focuses on prevention of all destructive behaviors and attitudes that are harmful to young people. Our vision, mission, and values. SAD envisions a world in which young people make positive decisions that advance their health and safety. SAD's mission is to empower young people to successfully confront the risks and pressures that challenge them in their daily lives. We did a few projects this year, and the first one we did was Fall Red Ribbon Week in September, where we decorated the high school with red ribbons and banners. And we did this to create awareness concerning the problems related to the use of tobacco, alcohol, and other drugs. And it was to support the decision to live a healthy, drug-free lifestyle.
Another activity we did was the Coats for Kids. This was in September and October. We donated coats to at-risk children in the Miami Valley. Carr Nicholas, a former Dayton chief meteorologist, began this project in 1983, and our school has participated in this for several years. Next year, we are looking into collecting codes for the Springboro Community Assistance Center. Another project that we did was the Rock the Bell project in October, and what we did was at lunch we played rock music to go with our theme, Rock the Bell, and conducted surveys on student seatbelt usage. We did this to raise awareness and make students think about whether they wear seatbelts and whether their passengers buckle up. Another project that we did was the birthday card project, and we addressed it distributed birthday cards to 16-year-old students throughout the school year. We also were in the Christmas and Springboro parade in November, and we participated in the parade and passed out the candy canes with stickers. And then these are just pictures of the parade lineup. Another activity that we did was the candy cane grams, which we did this in December, and we sold candy cane grams with messages they could send to other classmates at lunch, and we raised over $200, which we donated to the Springboro Community Assistance Center. And then around Valentine's Day, we assisted a student, Austin Lighthill, raise money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society project by selling flowers at lunchtime for over 2 days, and we raised over $400 towards Austin's goal for his Student of the Year fundraiser. We also had Sad Shines Week, which is the power of youth and mental health awareness, which was in February, and we promoted personal health and safety by decorating the atrium with signs and making a chain of light color-coded from each grade level in STEM. And we hung yellow stars in the commons with SAD members' names to help our members shine. And here's some pictures of us setting this up and then what it ended up looking like. And then we are assembling it. I'm sorry. There we are assembling it, and then you can see some of the positive sayings we were hanging up over there. And then one of our most popular events and biggest events we did was the Drive Smart mock car crash, which was in March before prom. And we joined efforts with Miami Valley Hospital, CareFlight, Springboro Police, Clear Creek Fire District, Anderson Funeral Home, and Sandy's Auto and Truck Service to present a mock car crash scene. And during the simulation, one student was given an alcohol test while others went through the full procedure of being taken away by ambulance, a CareFlight helicopter, and a hearse. Here we were getting our makeup done for the car crash. This was kind of the setup of the accident. We were the witnesses, so we were waiting to call 911. This is the victim, and she was waiting in the car. And Miami Valley CareFlight transported one of the students, actresses, after she was critically injured in the mock car crash. So she actually got to go up in the helicopter. And then our other student actor was arrested by Officer Nicely for drunk driving during the mock car crash, in which his best friend lost his life in simulation. And then here is the victim of the mock car crash. And then we also had a parent speaker there, and her name was Laura Seeger, and she talked about the tragic loss of her 18-year-old son, Joey, while traveling with his father, and their vehicle was hit by an impaired driver. This presentation was for juniors and seniors, and it takes place every other year, and the purpose is for students to realize that one poor choice in regards to drinking and driving could cause great consequences.
On May 12th, SAD members and team mentors attended Allerbine Nursing's home senior prom, and let me tell you, it was a blast. Visiting the residence was really rewarding because teenagers nowadays do not get to experience things like this on a daily basis. So it is really important that SAD was able to take part in this event. Dancing with the residents was also really amazing because it makes them happy and it makes them feel youthful once again. Making friends with everyone at Otterbein is really special to me personally because I feel great to be able to make someone happy, and I think that is what's really important, and that's what I took away after the event. This is what I believe SAD is about. Not only preventing destructive decisions, but also promoting good ones and doing the right thing and being a big part of the community. Thank you.
Awesome job. Come right up here. See if our board members have any questions for you.
What were the results of the seatbelt that you, Sammy? They did the seatbelt presentation. How many of our kids wear seatbelts? Not very many. Okay, the result part of it. Okay. One of the things I loved you guys did, there were so many donations, and you did a lot to support SCAC, and then you also found other places to donate. So it was neat. You did locally, and then you also did some outside of Springboro. So great. You had some very diverse things, you know, like ways that you served other people. So great job. Thank you.
Just to add a couple things to SAD, I mean, they fill so many roles within the building and within our community. We've been, Mrs. Bell, is this the third year we've gone to the Irvine Home Retirement Committee for the dance?
It's every other year, this is the third.
Time.
This is the third
Okay.
time.
And that, I tell you, I received, after that dance on Saturday morning, I woke up, I had a couple emails from a few residents from Irvine Retirement Community just raving with positivity about our students and how well behaved they were, and it just made their night. And that's what it's all about. I talked to a couple of the residents, and actually they have reached out to other schools who have not taken the opportunity to send students. So we're always, that's something I know that I look forward to, as well as the kids who attend that. So they spend a lot of extra time, of their own time, making a difference in a wide range as far as age, you know, from the young kids all the way up to the older. So I want to thank them for their commitment, and thank Mrs. Beller and Mr. Bird as well, because they spend a ton of time meeting with the kids monthly to put on a lot of these events. Mock Car Crash is a huge, huge undertaking. Very emotional presentation as well. One of the things we talked about at the end, that they talked a little bit about, was what we also covered. I summed up the end of the presentation outside. We talked also about texting while driving as well. And so we kind of lumped that in as something that kids are facing today. So,
Don't let me, we'll do pictures at the end.
yes, they'll take off pictures. All right, the next group is the team mentoring group. Our advisors for team mentoring is Mrs. Andrews and Mrs. Botshot. Just to say one little thing about team mentoring, and they're going to not be happy when I say this, but they actually work on this during their plan time. So both Ms. Botshot and Mrs. Andrews spend some time during their plan time collaborating and working together to set up projects for our team mentoring students. They, once again, serve a huge role within our building, but also within our younger buildings within the district at Clear Creek, 5 Points, and Dennis. A lot of students who have team mentoring actually have a 10th period plan, so then they leave the building and then they go and they are a team mentor to the other students within the district. So it's a phenomenal program. It's one that I know that the 5 Points and Dennis and the Clear Creek students really look forward to. But I'll tell you what, our students look forward to it just as much as they do. So I'm going to let the kids here talk. We have Tyler Click, Kelsey Sams, Lauren Uppergrove, and Hannah Wright and Kara Kunash.
Hello, let me just say it's truly an honor to be here tonight speaking on behalf of one of my favorite programs at the high school, team mentoring. The purpose of team mentoring is to engage students in our community and help them with whatever they may be struggling with, whether that be getting your homework turned in on time, doing your homework, perhaps there's something going on at home, but we like to help them and especially like engage with kids within our community and pay it back, because we've all been there before and we want to help them with whatever they may be struggling with.
So in our community, or in the program, we serve about 115 students, and that ranges from kindergarten to 8th grade. So every single day during 10th period, a different group goes to either tutor or just be a buddy for these students. And it's basically whatever they need to work on, that's what we do.
So benefits for our school is we truly get to we're kind of a safe place for our buddies where they can talk and confide and get help with homework and things like that. We really just want to reach out and just be their best friend, to be honest with you.
So some buddy benefits, there are many, as well as the few that are highlighted on the screen. We get to be more connected to our school and our community, not just the elementary, but as well as the junior high, our own school, teachers. You get to meet new people through this program. We learn to
be a positive influence to these students, and as well as you said, their best friends. We also communicate with other students and teachers, and we're motivated to make every day great.
These are just some examples of like our involvement in the community. This is the egg drop, and this is here in the field, and then we just go to all the events with them, whether it's like their last day of school, different parties they have.
So again, here's the helicopter egg drop, 2016.
And Mr. Martin already covered this pretty extensively, but as somebody who went to the Otterbein nursing home, I found it a very rewarding experience, and there's a lot we can learn from our elders, and to give back a little bit to them is very enjoyable, and you can see it in their face. They knew that, and talking with them, that we're the only kids that had come to the building. They've reached out to many others, and only Springboro kids went. Mr. Martin's grandmother was one of the young ladies there to dance with. Very thrilled to see us there.
So one thing that we did was a character skit, and we went to the SI building, which is the 6th grade building, and we basically did a skit about the different stereotypes that people find in schools with their groups and their cliques and their friends. And we basically just told them that there's this type of person, that type of person, this type of person, but you shouldn't try to be those people, you should just be yourself. And so we had about 4 high school students go, each time we had a thing, and I was one of them, and it was just amazing to see their faces that they don't have to fit into a stereotype.
So Miracle Field is another event we're involved in. This program is for special needs children who may be like in a wheelchair or may have Down syndrome. And what we do is we play baseball with them. We get a partner and we run the bases, we help them bat. Sometimes we may not want to run the bases, but we still just have a good time. And I think that's one of the most rewarding experiences that I've experienced through high school. Like, that's my favorite thing to do on Saturdays. And also Thursday night, so tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, they need volunteers for food. Anybody can come, so I highly recommend you try that out at some point.
And if you can't make it to the 6:15 game, there's another game at 7:30.
So we also help with recycling at the high school, so we do that once a week, and we get the students with special needs from the high school to come with some other Springboro High School students, and we come around and collect all the recycling and clear up people's paper and plastic recycling from each classroom. Oh, sorry, I also forgot to mention, we also collect pop tabs, and those get donated to the Ronald McDonald House to help out Dayton Children's Hospital.
These are just a couple of quotes from our counselors, and I'd like to thank them because I know that this program is very time consuming and it's kind of hard to schedule all the mentors to get down to the high school all the time, but they definitely do a nice job of making sure that everything runs smoothly.
They really seem to some of the quotes are basically just saying how much they really appreciate us coming and how they see it different in their own students, especially the students that they see normally because they come into their office all the time.
Some logistics from the team mentoring program. Like Lauren had mentioned before, we mentor kids K through 8 as well as kids at our own high school. So we go during our 10th period. So when you sign up for the team mentoring program, the school works out your schedule so that your 10th period is open, so we're not missing any class. And if you do not have a 10th period open, they make it so that you meet with students after school, whether you're at the Warren County Career Center or you're in some type of other program that prevents you from having your 10th period open. We meet, each school has a designated day, like we had said before, so you meet just once a week with each of the schools, and you typically have one student so that you can devote your time there, your half an hour of your 10th period, to that one student, one day a week.
Oh, if there's an absence, we like to make sure that that kid's not left there waiting, just waiting for you to come in. So we find a sub and we make sure sub gets to where they need to be.
This is Miss Andrews and Miss They're the basis of our program, and they coordinate everything. And no
nobody in the region really is involved in the team mentor program. So Springboro is kind of like the model, and so now a bunch of other programs, like school districts throughout Ohio and region, are going to start doing this. But it's nice to know that we kind of started all of it, and we're the pioneers.
So we're really just completely growing. So like the next year, the 2017-2018 school year, we have even more team mentors, and we have more teachers and more counselors wanting to put more buddies in, which I think is just phenomenal. So we, like I said, we have 48 team mentors, over 120 students. Last year I had 3 different buddies, so I went on 3 different days, and I just completely fell in love with all the kids I have. They all have their own story, and you get to connect and just listen to what they have to say. And kids, they say the best things. I'm telling you, it's great.
Thank you so much. We'll send our presentation.
I've had the experience of having kids at both ends because my son's a teen mentor, but our son that we adopted has also had the benefit of having a teen mentor for 2 years. And both sides were fabulous experiences. And I think that Springboro High School does a great job of selecting top-notch kids to build into the lives of the younger students. So kudos to you guys with what you do, because the younger students do absolutely love you coming. The way that you invest in them and make them feel special is absolutely amazing. So thank you for that. And I do think that it's just as incredible for you guys as it is for the little ones. So you've done a great job with that. And your advisors too. That is a hard job. So kudos to the 2 advisors over there, because the coordination.
You know, I want to say to you in front of all of these folks, what you're doing is you're learning servant leadership now. You've made a difference either through being a team mentor or through Students Against Disruptive Decisions. When I was in high school, I was in a school that only had 50 kids per grade, just a little smaller than Springboro. So we didn't have a lot of organizations like we have here at Springboro, but we had an organization called FFA, Future Farmers of America, that I was involved in. Yesterday, I gave the eulogy to that teacher that taught me in high school. He was the greatest teacher for me to make me an educator, because he taught me how to serve the community. And you have learned that, which is a lifelong practice that you're going to make a difference for so many people. Folks, they deserve a round of applause.
The students in the team mentor programs, they are giving up a study hall to go out to the buildings to work with kids. On our end, what we then do is with those 68 kids next year, we will hand schedule every single one of those kids to make sure that they receive a 10th period study hall. That is a huge task. Thanks to Ms. Andrew and Mrs. Botshon, our guidance department administrators, we will sit down and we will just continue to work each schedule until it comes out to where they get every class that they need and requested, but then also they have that 10th period study hall and able to fulfill that. And our applicants continue to grow. Every year we're getting, next year we'll have 106 to 170 students. And so it's even, we're encouraging a lot more kids to apply and also taking more kids on. We have well over 12 to 1,300 students involved in some type of extracurricular activity and club. This is just 2 of them, but you can see just from these 2 the impact they have on the lives of others. And that's why they do what they do. And their hard work does not go unnoticed, both SAD and team mentoring, as well as all the advisors. So I want to give them a huge thank you because they put a lot of time into the programs that they're involved in. So thanks.
You want to behind them? All right, we're going to go behind more for a picture. Where's their teacher? Right here. Come on in.
Thank you. To the administrators, thank you very much.
Yeah.
See how I'm asking for permission today?
No, but I got that on camera, so that's good.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. President, as far as student presentations tonight, that is what we have.
I have a statement to read on behalf of the Springboro Board of Education. It was brought to the board's attention that there has been a discussion via email between Karen DeRosa, a former employee of the district, and board member Lisa Babb regarding the creation of this letter that will be presented to the board this evening. We have hard copies if anybody's interested in the email. The email is dated May 12, 2017, shows that Lisa Babb has been an active participant, undermining the board, compromising the board and administration integrity. She has abused her powers as a board member, and she has made a coordinated effort to collude with former employee Karen DeRosa. This is not an isolated incident. Board members have had numerous discussions with Mrs. Babb about appropriate board member communications. Mrs. Babb on numerous occasions has overstepped board member conduct, code of conduct, and Ohio ethics laws by divulging executive session confidential conversations to the public. Additionally, Mrs. Babb has not ensured student privacy laws, forwarding board emails with identifiable information to her personal email on numerous occasions. The district has no way to protect the privacy of families once that has occurred. OSBA, which is the Ohio School Boards Association, has done 2 trainings with the board members to assist with this issue, and yet Mrs. Babb has continued to step beyond appropriate boundaries and taken this to a new level. These continued actions have been an ongoing distraction and disruption to board business and the cost of taxpayers' money. Thank you. Before we get into our public participation, I want to go over something with you. Guidelines for public participation, since we have so many. During your speech, please ensure that no derogatory or defamatory comments are made that are directed to a person by name or position. If at any time you publicly name an employee or member of the district by name or position in a negative manner, you will immediately revoke your right to continue speaking. Due to the number of participants, we have set a limit of 3 minutes per speaker. When there's 30 seconds left, Mrs. Floyd will let you know that you have 30 seconds to finish up, and then we'll move on to the next speaker. Mr. Schroeder?
Our first speaker tonight is Heather Bauer.
My name is Heather Bauer, and I reside at 9248 Benton Way. I'm here today because I've watched people bring the problems within the district, and you've shown that you're willing to fix them. However, you can't fix the problems that you're not aware of. I've watched many people, including myself, share with the board issues at Clear Creek Elementary. Despite what you may have been told, many of these issues have been resolved. The recent changes in special education may help the situation, but the administrative problems in the building continue. I've spoken with many people that have communication issues at Clear Creek. As over unconscious communication elementary. The district seemed to recognize some of these issues early on, and Mrs. Ramona Anderson was hired as a consultant to help with administrative duties. This wasn't made transparent to families or staff. I talked to several staff members who had no idea why she was there. And as a parent, I would like to know who is responsible for the safety and well-being of my child. Well, I've personally met Mrs. Anderson, and many parents at Clear Creek have no idea who she is. Mrs. Burton was frequently not in the building this year. It's my understanding that she had some personal issues and many state mandated meetings. This is hard for me to understand, but I expect all principals in the district have similar mandates if they are able to return emails in a timely manner and more often than not in their respective office or visibly interacting with students and staff. After speaking with staff members and parents, it seems to me that a possible solution to some of these problems is to hire another full-time administrator for that building. If there was another principal in the building, there would be someone to go to during these absences. I don't have a lot of access to data, but I did pull a few simple things together. This year, there were 906 students at Clear Creek, and according to the school website, 76 staff members. At 5.6 Advance Elementary, there are 986 students and 88 staff members listed on the website. I believe Dennis Elementary didn't have those numbers, but I believe they're similar to 5 Points. These numbers only vary about 10% between the 5 Points and Dennis and Fifth Creek, yet 5 Points and Dennis each have 2 administrators and 3 administrative assistants. And Clear Creek only has 1 administrator and 2 administrative assistants. And more often than not, see the school counselor and library aide at Clear Creek step in to help the administrative duties, pulling them away from their own responsibilities. We know that Springboro is a desirable area in which to live, and that these student numbers will only continue to grow. Please give our fantastic, and I mean fantastic, teachers the administrative support they deserve. I have already heard of a few teachers that plan to leave that building, and I fear that if we don't act quickly, we will only continue to lose more. My children receive a fantastic education at that school, and I'm asking you to please investigate the needs of this building so that they can move.
Thank you.
Second speaker is Matt Clark.
Good evening, board. Mr. Superintendent. Matt Clark, I reside at 500 Ringwood. It is with high hope and intention for positive change that I present this evening. My son just finished his kindergarten year at Clear Creek, where he will move into the first grade. Prior to kindergarten, he attended free school at Clear Creek for 3 years and utilized special education services. It was a successful education partnership until this past year. After submitting 2 letters to the superintendent and board members, as well as having my wife present at the February board meeting, progress remained non-existent. While the superintendent and board members are aware of many concerns at Clear Creek and within the administration, it is essential to inform the current standings. After months of unreturned emails, multiple incidents of inaccurate and misleading IEP documentation, a FERPA violation, misinterpreted IEP addendums, delays in scheduling meetings, and a failure for the principal to remain at the meetings, we found it was in our son's best interest to seek professional help of a parent-student advocate. Lacking the legal knowledge to back up our concerns at Clear Creek, we knew we must reach out to the district for guidance of our son's success. After reaching out to other Clear Creek parents, it was found many parents had similar encounters with Clear Creek's administrator. While each individual journey was tailored to their own needs, the underlying concerns were eerily consistent. A building with broken communication, unaccountability, and a lack of follow-up. It is very important to note, the concerns do not stem from the classroom level, but rather the administrative level. As a building that houses a special needs program and welcomes our district's earliest learners, the administration is a poor representation of the Springboro School District. We have always viewed our children's education as a partnership between the district and the parents. Each party brings valuable assets, which creates a recipe for success for the student and the district. However, this past school year was the first time in 4 years where we were no longer valued as a member of our child's education team. I present this evening with the notion to support forward progress.
You have 30 seconds left.
An improved dialogue with the administrators in an effort to strengthen accountability and offer to be part of the solution to Clear Creek and the Springboro School District. Ask for the board's invested interest in the superintendent's decisions and follow-up, and request a comprehensive evaluation of the ongoing consistent breakdown at Clear Creek involving the administration. We, the parents, know that we, the district, can do better. Change is inevitable, but transformation is a conscious choice.
Time's up, Mr. Clark.
Board, I'd like to present you with my speech, and also I'd like to submit copies of the letter and a petition with 130 signatures from district parents to support and improve communication.
Thank you.
Administrators.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Next speaker is Adriana Duran.
Adriana Duran, 30 Lexington Court. Good evening. I come to you talk about Clearcreek Elementary. After spending 4 years surrounded by wonderful teachers and staff, it is impossible to not notice something is broken. Not a transition, but a break. Morale is down, tension is palpable, lack of leadership is evident. Children are suffering. My own son has regressed to behaviors not since his preschool days. He works hard for those skills. He has taken anywhere from 20 to 30 weekly hours of therapies for those skills. He was diagnosed while my husband was serving a tour in Afghanistan. And do you know who helped me to that? The women present during his first IEP meeting. That room was just filled with just knowledge that compassion and that basic human need for connection was met. I felt through the years his needs always came first. I want everyone to have the same experience I did, to feel safe and supported at the moment when you face such uncertainties. Instead, I'm finding people in tears, feeling disrespected, sitting on the floor during meetings. Administrators who no longer make eye contact but spend the meetings checking emails and voicemails. Parents being warned by parents and preschools about the troubles that lie ahead. We have reached a point in which I had to hear an IS say during this transition meeting that she had been instructed not to bring up the fact that had a name, setting him up to fail. I'm having to request team meeting notes through a public record request because asking through the chain of command all the way up only got me an email response full of excuses as to why a job had not been done. Further tested proved that email wrong and provided my son with the services he desperately needed. It became very clear to me his needs no longer came first. They were not even a priority of any kind. I wonder if this is because he excels academically. So on paper he looks great. I'm not here complaining about his teachers after all. But this is Springboro. We take pride in educating the whole child. I spent endless hours volunteering and fundraising in order to help that cause. We set the bar high. We expect and demand only the best from our kids. So why not do the same for those who join the ranks? Communication is abysmal. No one knows what is going on. People are afraid of speaking up. Transparency is gone. Trust has been broken. We need to watch out for small cumulative problems. A small blip will sink ship. We have moved on from that building since Tuesday, but the people who became like family during this journey remain. And the incoming parents, the ones who are receiving the news right now that their child is different, they deserve what I got. And the kids, neurotypical or differently able, deserve a shot at success because after all, we are Springboro. Thank you.
Hey, David. I'm having trouble hearing. You're not speaking. Well, I just can't hear you all the way. One of the rest
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm just up here if they want to come up here, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Next speaker's Rob Miller.
Okay, fine.
I'm going to try from back here.
Okay.
Hopefully it works, because that's all.
All right.
It's a challenge. So thank you for the time tonight. Rob Miller, 3265 Village in Springboro. Earlier this week, as the school year came to an end, my daughter came home really proud that she had received all A's, graduated from 5th grade on to 6th grade, full of emotion, energy, etc. And later that night, I was just going back of what's different. I have an older daughter. We raised her the same way, and trying to go back and reflect what's different between the two kids. They went to the same schools, had the same teachers, happy. Similar curriculum, we're not changing that year to year. It's parents. Similar projects, we really appreciate that. Technology as we relearn what we've lost over the years. And both came home really at the end of 5th grade class. And so I went through and I'm like, what's truly different? And it's really one word, it's dyslexia. The oldest one has it, the oldest one doesn't. So as I went back and tried putting this together for you guys tonight, I went through the process that we went through. And so I want to reflect on this. We fought hard to have her held back in 1st grade because we brought to everybody's attention that we thought she had dyslexia. We then had to fight to have her medically diagnosed because the school didn't want to go back and forth on this. So we got Children's to work through that. We, from there, offered funding to the school to put a program together of allowing teachers to have that curriculum and help them help other students. That was declined because it wasn't fair the way I offered it. We found a certified trainer to get her to the point where she could cope with her skills. And she now loves reading. This is a good thing. We fought each year to restructure her IEP because each year we came back and she's got great grades. Well, grades aren't everything. She needs time. She needs effort. She needs special accommodation. We fought each year to have teachers help her with confidence and the anxiety that came along with dyslexia and the learning disabilities that she had. However, there's a lot of good and bad there in the sense of there's constant pressure of she needs to work faster. It doesn't work that way. She needs to work smarter, which is even more derogatory. And at the end of the day, we went through for this year. We failed as parents. Period. So, my ask of you is as we build a special education program, there's needs for unique instructional methods, materials, learning aids, and equipment. That helps the students. You guys believe in that, we believe in that as parents. My issue is that the service is not being provided on a consistent basis and at a level that the community deserves, the students deserve. The purpose of an IEP is to build an educational program that allows the child to prosper, period.
Sir, I'm going to have to stop you. I'm sorry. 3 minutes, you've gone way over. We're going to move on. Do you have something to hand out?
I do, but who said, did she say 30?
Yeah, she said 30 seconds.
Sorry, I said 30 seconds.
Yes, I will hand it out.
Yes, we'll take it. All right.
Our next speaker, Dave Bowman.
Clock doesn't start till I get up there. Can only talk so fast. I'm old, I can't run. David Bowman, 2973 Association Houseway. Good evening. 4 years ago yesterday, I spoke at a Springboro school board meeting. We were on the verge of a teacher strike. Principals, administrators, and teachers were leaving the district for jobs elsewhere. And the school board seemed intent on using its power to micromanage and bully district employees and teachers while prioritizing radical political ideas in our schools. I and others in the community had organized to fight against issues like pushing the teachers to strike, underfunding the district, introducing charter schools, creationism and science classes, and guns in our school, among others. It was a very dark and difficult time to live in Springboro, Ohio. Adding to the frustration of the situation was the fact that my family, like many families, specifically chose to live here because of the schools. Our experience in those schools had been overwhelmingly positive, and yet here was this small group of people with their personal and political agendas threatening to destroy the very thing that made Springboro the place we call home. For much of 2013, most of my personal free time and that of many others was spent fighting for the survival of our schools. Our community rallied, our people spoke loudly, and through a long, difficult process, order and leadership was eventually restored to our schools. The dark shadow that a small group of people with bad intentions had cast over our schools was displaced by the light of our collective good. I'll never forget that time, but I'm glad that it's a chapter that's behind us. 4 years later, here I stand before the Board of Education, 5 new board members, a new district superintendent, continuity in our buildings, stability in our district. Are we perfect? No. Is it better? My God, yes. Our teachers are empowered and trusted to do their jobs in an environment where they are openly supported by our board. My kids have been so fortunate to have been taught by the professional educators in this district, people that genuinely care. My daughter, through our gifted programs, has been challenged, educated, and engaged across the full spectrum of curriculum, as well as pushed to show leadership to her peers. My son, whose situation is pretty unique, receives both gifted and special education services. Every year, his teachers have worked with us and cared for him in ways that go so far beyond the standard call of duty. I am forever grateful to all of them, some of them who are here tonight, for what they do for my kids. Is it easy? No. Does it take some effort and work? Without question, but they're always willing to do it. Our school principals are empowered and supported to make good decisions on the day-to-day affairs of the schools. And I can't say enough about people like Principal John Franks at the junior high school, or Tracy Griffin at 5 Points. They listen, they care, they work hard every single day. Our superintendent's regarded by leaders around this region as one of the best in the business. I was at a conference today and introduced myself, and they said, "Oh, Springboro, Dan Schreier, unbelievable guy, you're lucky to have him." I said, "Yeah, you're exactly right. Thank you for being here." Our school board is comprised of smart, talented, respectful people whom I know to be vested in our schools, people whose priority is our kids, people who don't just say children first, live it. You listen to us, you hear us, you represent us, you work for us. You're making sure we never go back to where we were 4 years ago, and I really appreciate all of you for that. In summary, I basically came here tonight to say thank you, and thank you, and thank you.
Thank you for your time this evening, Mr. Schreier, President Stuckey, and members of our board. I'm a proud member of our community and the Springboro administrative team. This is a hard-working, cohesive group of members that include Mr. Schreier as our leader and a lean staff that proudly represents 6 school buildings. This year we have the following positions with personnel in their first year within the roles: a new superintendent, a new HR director, a new director of instruction, a new elementary curriculum coordinator, 4 principals new to their building, a new communications team. Mr. Schreier has taken an approach of leading with trust. He has shown he believes that our principals have the ability to lead their buildings. He believes our staff comes with the know-how on how to instruct our students. Mr. Schreier believes in relationships, building relationships with students, parents, staff members, community members, business leaders, politicians, and college and university leaders. We've had a great deal of exposure this year due to the committees he has built. It is refreshing to hear from business leaders what they look for in future employees, from colleges and university deans what they desire in our graduates, and to hear that they care about our students as much as we do. It's invigorating to see an administration working collaboratively with the Teachers and Classified Employees Association members to make education of children their top priority. In all of my years in administration, I have never seen our principals work together like they have this year. Collaboration and teamwork has been a key to the success. The pattern of success will continue and exceed with this leadership. With the hard work of our teachers and staff, our students excel at their highest potential at every level. We could not achieve excellence without strong families that are unified in the idea that it takes a village to make all of this work. Did you know that we spend an average of $7,255 per pupil in Springboro? Did you also know that the state's average is $11,038? At spending 2/3 of the state average per pupil, it has not impeded our level of excellence. The Cleveland Plain Dealer published an article ranking all of Ohio's school districts based on state data. We ranked 24th, tied with Mason, out of 608 school districts in Ohio. We scored ahead of many school districts that many districts envy. A few of those include Centerville at 87th, Sycamore at 63rd, and Wyoming at 46th. This puts us in the top 4% of districts statewide with this ranking. U.S. News and World Report ranked our high school as 61st in Ohio. Last year's article ranked us as 94th. Did you know Ohio has 910 public high schools? 61st is within the top 7%. We fully expect next year's report to exceed this year's.
Wrap it up, please. Thank you.
The ODE assigns a performance index for school districts. This year we ranked 62nd. This is in the top 7% of all districts in Ohio. This year our graduates will receive the most scholarship money ever. We recognize that we have some issues that need attention. I assure you we have a team that works closely to make decisions that will allow us to identify areas in need of weakness and adjust accordingly. I think you will be pleased with our solutions. Thank you for your time.
Next speaker is Tabitha Burbank.
I am a Springboro parent of 2 students within the special education program. The past 4 years, my family and I have endured unnecessary hardship. Due to poor decisions with the previous leadership, special education department, and lack of training within special education, my trust has diminished. I have experienced struggles with communication and protocol being followed through within the special education department. I have encountered concerns this school year that have been addressed higher up and handled appropriately. Under new leadership in Springboro, areas of concern are moving in a positive direction and voices are being heard. We have been in a sinking boat without a paddle going upstream. Change will not happen overnight. I understand that everyone does not share the same feelings with the new leadership, and as I stated, the past 4 years have been rough within the district for my family. I welcome the new special education director and positive changes. Our district has been broken, and I have seen changes this past year with the new superintendent. I realize that it is going to take time, and I pray that we keep moving forward.
Next speaker is the treasurer's office staff.
Wow, what a crowd. We're usually behind the scenes, so this is not our normal forum, so please bear with us. I got nominated to speak. My name is Cindy Howard, and I work with the district's EMIS data. With me tonight, Becky Combs, payroll, Cindy Florio, budgetary, Janie Dill, payroll and accounts receivable. We have asked to be on the agenda to publicly not acknowledge our support for central office and the building leadership. Collectively, we have 67 years of experience in Springboro schools. In this time, but we've seen many superintendents, treasurers, and administrators come and go. This has given us a historical perspective to draw the following conclusion. The collaboration witnessed by our office between the current superintendent, treasurer, central office, and building administrators have been the best it's ever been. We are excited over the positive changes and hope it continues. We realize all school districts have their issues. However, Springboro's issues have been sensationalized in the public forum, making them appear bigger than they are. In our view, this is neither constructive nor a useful way to resolve them. Fortunately, there is an established chain of command. It helps minimize miscommunications, misinformation surrounding issues, and most important, it provides the proper channels for resolution by those best equipped to handle them. Specifically, Dan Schreier and Tara Floyd have demonstrated a high level of expertise and personal skills to those issues, elevating to their attention. We really appreciate you both. In closing, we are deeply fortunate to have the opportunity to work in central office and for Springboro schools. And we look forward to continuing to serve this great school district. And got a little shaky there, but thank you for listening to me.
Our next speaker is Eric Detmer.
Good evening. I appreciate you allowing me to speak for a few minutes this evening. I come to you tonight both as a varsity girls soccer coach and a school district resident. Pending board approval this summer, next fall will be my 12th season as the girls varsity soccer coach here at Springboro. As a coach, teacher, administrator, and even a school board member, we often hear about the negative aspects associated with our roles more than the positive things that happen, regardless of our successes. As the school year comes to a close, I thought it was a good time to try to reverse this trend and to recognize what I view as positive progress within the district. In my 11 years at Springboro, if you consider rehires, I have had somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 or 4 superintendents, 3 or 4 principals, and I know this for a fact, 5 athletic directors. With these types of changes, you see a lot of different aspects about the job. This past season, I noticed what I feel is a positive change. For the past 6 months, I often have people come up to me and ask me about the experience of making it to the state final last season. One of the first things I state about the wonderful experience, how great I felt the administration was for us the entire season. They were noticeably present at all home games and throughout the tournament. One of the best examples I have of this, and I tell everyone this story anytime anyone asks, is when we arrived at Xenia High School for the state semifinal game. It was cold, it was pouring down rain, and it was dark outside. The first person that met me as I stepped off the bus wasn't the site official, wasn't the game official, wasn't even the other team's coach. It was our superintendent. He apologized for not being at the high school for our send-off, but he wanted to know that he was there to show his support. This is just a small example of what we saw all season long. I don't recall a home game without seeing a principal or an assistant principal. In fact, I had a 2-hour rain delay early in the season, and I spent the entire 2 hours talking to Mr. Rhodes and Mr. Martin. The administration and I often had conversations throughout the year about players, referring them by their first names, as they knew who they were, and they often communicated them off the field. In the past, my conversations with administration had to be more general, as they weren't fully aware of our team or its players. This season, they have always seemed to be present, always supportive, and the entire program, from parents, the players, the coaches, took notice. Quite frankly, it was something different and unlike any previous season I've had before at Springboro. Now, I can't tell you necessarily what happens between the school building walls, but from an outside perspective, I can tell you that this past season, we felt more support and more connection with the administration than ever before. It was something I talked openly about with others in the district and outside the district. It is something that I feel is important to present in front of the board to let them know some of the changes that have been happening are for the positive. I appreciate you allowing me to take a few minutes of that.
President, our final speaker in the public participation prearranged, Doug Weaver.
I didn't know I was going to have such a large crowd. I was the usual suspects. But my original intent coming here tonight was to recognize the school district for moving up, like Mrs. Cook said, from being in the 90s forever up to the 61st, and that was done basically because Mr. Martin instituted the AP program that put more kids into the College Credit Plus programs and into the AP programs. But to maintain that going into the future, we've got to have the kids in the elementary schools and the junior highs preparing to take those courses that Mr. Martin's got set up. Once we do that, we're going to have a steamroller effect going through there where more kids are going to want to participate in the harder courses as opposed to the easier courses. It's going to be kind of a badge of honor. In regards to some of you folks back there that have special needs children, my heart goes out to you. I can't imagine what it's like to have to deal with that stuff day in and day out. But what I do know is that most of the people around here are fairly good-hearted and want to do what's best. It might not always seem that way. It might not always come across that way. But I have a hard time believing that people are as equal as I'm just getting the feeling some people think they are. It's not that we don't want to help. It's just that sometimes you got to let them help. But all in all, I just want to see us move from 61st next year up into the 30s and the 20s. And congratulations on, staying the course and doing the hard work that we necessary to get us there. Because in the end, that's what we're looking for. Thanks.
Mr. President, ends public participation prearranged. We introduce now our police chief, Jeff Krydoff, for an update on police and school interactions for this past school year.
I have to wear those socks to get all those kudos as a principal. Good evening. I'd like to thank the school board and Superintendent Schreier for the opportunity to address the school board and the police department's perspective for the 2016-2017 school year. As you know, we added a school resource officer to the district early in this educational year, and I cannot emphasize enough how much this extra effort has paid off, both as a deterrent to improper activity, but also in the relationships established with kids. These things were significantly enhanced by the presence of Officer Aaron Nicely, who happens to be with us here tonight. From hugs and high fives from the student body to the graduation invitations received from seniors, Officer Nicely has been overjoyed to be an integral part of the educational process for Springboro students. She has students visit her often in her office to talk about many of the problems of being a teenager. By her own admission, Officer Nicely says she might not have the right answers for those students, but they know they always have a safe place to talk to her. And speaking with the SROs and the officers, I can without reservation give the school year an A+ in terms of the number of incidents that arose out of inappropriate behavior. For a district this size, and based on the behavior of some previous years, the current group of students in the district deserve some real praise for the path that they're taking on their journey to adulthood. This is not to suggest that we don't have problems with student behavior occasionally. After all, they're still testing boundaries, and working with youth is never without its highs and its lows. One of the primary goals of the school resource officers is to be part of the team in the district. This team includes teachers, building principals, counselors, and other members of the administrative office. This team approach has proven itself to be very effective in addressing inappropriate or criminal behavior. With the support of Superintendent Schreier, this team concept was strengthened during this past year by empowering the building principals more in this approach. We have found in the past that when inappropriate behavior is discovered, having this team approach and working with parents to ensure they have the skills and support they need to guide their children, we have had 0 incidents of recidivism. Unfortunately, sometimes a parent may choose to be less involved, but I believe we can all agree that parents are an integral part of this team approach. This team approach extends beyond the boundaries of the school campus. Choices made outside of school can affect a child's school life and vice versa. The police department gets to see people after school hours, on weekends, and at all times of the day or night. Whenever a Springboro officer is investigating an incident and a student is involved as a victim, a witness, or other involved party, a school resource officer is normally contacted. One example recently was a case where a Springboro officer was dealing with a family where a student lived. After notifying the school resource officer, it was discovered that this family was under tremendous financial stress. The school resource officer was able to facilitate school lunches for the student, access to the food pantry, and linked up the family with other social service organizations in the area. This allowed the family to pay for their rent and other basic needs that they had, and the student's performance in school improved. Another recent incident, officers involved in SRO resulted in the identification of a student with both emotional and physical problems that were not readily obvious and had gone undiscovered in the school. Carrying this team approach into this family dynamic resulted in the special needs of the student to be formally identified, the appropriate medical documents produced for a 504, and an IEP developed for the student. The SROs reported to me that this student is doing much better today. In examples like this, I cannot express enough how wonderful the support of Superintendent Schreier has been towards reinforcing this team. And I would also like to point out that the various counselors in your school buildings are absolutely rock stars when it comes to the assistance they provide to this team effort. Finally, I'd like to draw attention to the fact that our school resource officers completed DARE education for all 2nd and 4th graders and graduated another 500+ students from the 6th grade DARE program. DARE in the Springboro School District turns 25 years old this year, and we intend to highlight this milestone in the fall term and in the 2017-2018 school year. In addition to DARE, the school resource officers also taught 4 women's self-defense classes, as well as participating in PTO, spring carnivals, hometown expos, sporting events, prom, as well as a host of other activities. I'm sure you're already aware, many district residents and even some parents have no idea how much effort it takes to educate a child. We hope that through the school resource officers, we can help reinforce that effort by your staff every day. People often express concerns about police officers in the school and the fear that children will be vigorously prosecuted. In reality, the role of the school resource officer is to reduce the number of cases referred to juvenile court, and instead work with the school and the family to find the best solution for everyone to the inappropriate behavior of their children. This all said, we have had several incidents in the past year that required investigations to be submitted for prosecution. We had an incident where an outside contractor carried a gun on the school grounds, and we also had a student carry a look-alike gun to school that required a lockdown for a period of time while it was investigated. We also had a rather involved investigation into sexting activity that occurred both on and off school grounds. Approximately 25 students were involved using the phone apps Snapchat and For My Eyes Only. These apps allow for the immediate destruction of photos after they are sent and presented a significant challenge to the building administrators and the SROs. As a result, we did a tremendous amount of education with the parents of these students and have included a component into the 6th grade DARE classes on sexting. And we're again very pleased with the support that Superintendent Schreier and the school counselors gave us on getting through this investigation. The department also investigated 3 bomb threats this year and forwarded charges against all 3 of the students involved to the juvenile court. However, because of some new response protocols implemented this year, these cases were all successfully investigated without disruption of the school day, with evacuations, the need for days off, or posing any danger to the student body. These response protocols were developed after a meeting between all Warren County school superintendents, all Warren County police chiefs, including the sheriff. This discussion and eventual change in response protocols occurred within mere days of Superintendent Schreier's first days on the job. I immediately found that he was easy to work with, provided meaningful input into the protocols, and supported them in all 3 of the bomb threat cases that we had. Speaking to Mr. Schreier as your new superintendent for this school year, I would be remiss if I did not express how pleasant it has been to work with him and his staff this year. It's never enjoyable when I have to call the school superintendent at all hours of the night to inform him of an incident or inform him of something that may reflect poorly on a Springboro student. I've always found Mr. Schreier to be pleasant, calm, and professional in his duties. His steady leadership and significant involvement in school activities, from narrating sporting events to merely being present at a wide array of district functions, shows his dedication to our youth. A glowing example of this was a couple months ago when a fatal accident occurred on State Route 48. I called Mr. Schreier immediately, suggesting that a student might be involved. Even though it was late in the day, Mr. Schreier and his staff were able to assist the police in getting the youth identified. Although the student was not a Springboro district student, she did use the transportation system of the district. Information provided early on by the superintendent and his staff allowed for timely notification of this child's father. That was hours earlier than what probably would have been possible without that assistance. We were also able to notify officials from Bridge Christian School where the child was a student in a timely manner. My comments are not to suggest that we don't have some challenges, both in this school year and in the years to come. Student and parent privacy issues are very important to us. Both school employees and police officers find that we interact with lots of really good people having a really bad day. For a variety of reasons, the school or the police are actively involved in helping these families through these difficult times. Balancing this need for privacy with the public right to know, as well as the parental concerns surrounding many of these incidents, is very difficult for both the police department and the district administration. I assure you, decisions are always made with the safety of the students as priority number 1. The responsibility of bringing our youth to their full potential is the responsibility of everybody in this community, from parents, teachers, coaches, businesses, to the other systems that are in place in our community. We must protect and nurture our children, and I'm very confident this community is up to that challenge. In conclusion, I'd like to thank the district board for your support for the school resource officer program and the police department during this past year. I have a wonderful staff, and you have 2 of my best working here full-time. I close with a reminder you should never hesitate to contact my office or email me personally with any questions or concerns that you may have about police activity in the school district. Thank you.
a lot of questions about bringing a second officer on, and I just have to say about Officer Nicely, I have been so impressed with what she has brought to the district. Her interactions with the students has been superior. So thank you for what you've done. I've watched you on the football field. I've watched you, as I've dropped off stuff that I usually see at the high school. So I just think you've done an absolutely fabulous job. The selling point to us with having a second officer was that you would be there building the relationships, and you would not be behind closed doors. You would be there interacting with the kids, and you absolutely have been doing that. So I appreciate that, because those are the things that
2.6, is there any participation from the public on any other agenda item? Yes, which?
Josh Klein, SEA Vice President. It's not an agenda item, but we did have a speech prepared tonight. We didn't get prearranged. So I wonder if it was okay if I read that.
Go back to 2.1. Okay, when I called, you were here at that time?
Yeah.
Is that?
I think we went over pretty quick.
Oh.
So 2.1.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good evening, everybody. I was just here representing the teachers of the association. We're here tonight to show our support for Mr. Schreier and the administration. Again, my name is Josh Klein. I'm the Vice President of the association. I've taught in the school system for 16 years. In that time, we're on our current fourth superintendent. I think in the last 16 years, we've been through 5 or 6 different treasurers. I'm not sure, but I think Ms. Floyd, you're now our 7th, I'm pretty sure. Countless number of building principals, right? In the junior high alone, I've taught under 6 head principals in 16 years. Our tumultuous past has not only had a negative effect on our district leadership, but it's also taken a toll on our classrooms. As we teachers, we've lost a great number of our colleagues, retiring, leaving for other districts, or leaving the profession during that time as well. It's been difficult in Springboro, as you all know, to retain quality educators and administrators. And that's been over the last, again, 15 years. 10 to 15 years, great upheaval, you guys will all know. This year, with Mr. Schreier, right, we've finally started to see, at least in the classrooms, some things turn for the better. We're finally seeing some stability because we have a leader that genuinely cares about doing what's right for our teaching staff, and most importantly, doing what's right for the students in Springboro Community Schools. Mr. Schreier, we appreciate the fact that you listen to us and treat us as professionals. We certainly haven't gotten everything we wanted this year, but you've been fair, and you've put the interest of Springboro Community Schools and its students above all others. And for that, we're all moving in the right direction. For those of you in attendance tonight that don't know or understand the effect our new leadership's had, talk with a teacher or building principal. It won't take you too long before you hear others praising the direction our district is going in. His energy and enthusiasm for education is a true inspiration, and you can feel that difference amongst the staff and a positive change in morale. What is he doing? Some of the things that we're seeing, right, at little to no cost. He's gathered some volunteer teachers, are working to become experts in the different strands of our state standards, so that those individual teachers can come back and share their knowledge and information so that we can improve upon each of our standards in all the different content areas, right? He's also asked for volunteers to participate in a leadership academy so the district can develop the next round of teacher leaders and administrators that may want to advance their careers, right? Carol and I, we don't have too many meetings with Mr. Schreier where he hasn't come up with another idea that will lead to better performance and better education of our students. Stability, something this district is in critical need of. not only if we want to maintain excellence, but we also want to move it forward. It's our sincere belief that Mr. Schreier and the current Board of Education can provide that stability we all desperately need and deserve. In conclusion, it's our hope that the Springboro community can come together to support Mr. Schreier, our central office staff, our Board of Education, our building principals, and our teachers to make this the district the envy of Southwestern Ohio. Thank you.
Public participation on our agenda item. Yes.
Speaking on agenda item 2.4, public participation. You want me to say my name and address? A lot of the other speakers didn't, so I'm dispense with it then. You want me to keep doing it, or? Lots of people didn't say it then.
A lot of them were staff members, so.
Anyways, I've been coming to board meetings. I was sitting here trying to figure it out. It's been over 10 years. Some of you may think I probably need a better hobby. I'm definitely thinking that too. I've had one of my youngest kids, years ago, he said to me, I said I was going to a meeting. He said, "Why are you going to another boring meeting?" They're not boring sometimes. Sometimes they are. But like the presentations that were made today by SAD and by the borough, the mentors, that's a good reason to come. They always make it very good, and I really enjoy those. But after all these years that I've come to board meetings, 10, 11, 12 years, I have never heard anything as horrific as the statement that was read by Mr. Stuckey at the beginning of public participation. All the talk, guns in the schools. I've never felt, that just seems to me completely inappropriate. Did all board members sign that letter? Who was that from?
It was the board up here, that was a representative of the board, yes.
All four of the other board members
Yes.
agreed with that? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Seeing lots of things that seem to be pretty crazy. We've got some great things going on, and we're moving up in the ranks, and we've got a staff that is amazing. But we also have problems too. And every time that these parents have been coming to these meetings and saying, "We're having this problem," they've been very respectful, and they've been saying, "This is happening to us. This is our experience. Please help us. Please help us." And every one of you has said, "We're listening." But I don't think you're hearing. You are not hearing what they are saying. You're listening, but you need to hear what they are saying. They are frustrated. They are upset. We've got problems, and we cannot go back to where we were 4 years ago. We can't. When you see, and you think it's this small group of parents, when you see an iceberg, you just see a little bit of it. But under the water, there's a whole lot more. And I just want to share a quote that says, "Those who do not learn history are doomed to repeat it." And I certainly hope that we do not repeat what has been happening, because I've never seen anything like
Are there any other comments? Mr. President, typically when we have some speakers like this for the work session, we might take a break. So some people may stay, some people may go. I want to say, because most of the people are here now, thanks to everyone for being here, all 10 speakers, and Chief Krytoff and Mrs. Carlisle. The school district is not perfect. No school district is perfect. There will be problems. We have heard about the problems, and we've heard about the successes this year. We are making changes to address issues in the school district, and we are enhancing the things that are doing well to get better. The rankings that we heard earlier will continue to go up because we do have a great team. We have a great community of community leaders, some we've heard from tonight. We have a great community of parents. Parents that have questions, parents that are happy. But what we have is an incredible staff of administration, teachers, and support staff that will work tirelessly every day to look at the successes and make them better, and to look at every problem we have and try to make it better at the building level. And I'm convinced we're doing that, we're listening, and we're going to continue to do better. I'm proud of the team. I'm proud of many of them that are here tonight.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Mr. President, our first item in the work session, we are looking at a change of an attendance policy in our buildings. This is something that's been mandated by the state of Ohio. Warren County ESC has done a great job providing leadership to us, coming and discussing it with our building leaders. Tonight, Wendy Ford, John Franks, and Kyle Martin are going to begin the conversation of some of the things we're looking at in changing attendance, because this is going to take policy changes. It's going to eventually take a revised statement in our student handbooks, but we want to get started tonight so the board was aware of these changes. Go ahead, folks.
Before we get started, just some board notifications, Mr. Strayer, just passed out a small little packet of just some of the nuts and bolts and the facts behind the new policy that we're going to be looking at for the 2017-2018 school year. There are a few other documents that we have that's not in here, but it's our AIT, which is a intervention meeting form we fill out when we meet with parents regarding their attendance if their child got to that point. So that's just something you kind of read through if you need something to do on Friday night. We want to read about our attendance. First and foremost, the House Bill is 410, and with that change, we're going from days to hours. And so the first slide that this board is going to talk about is really the why truancy is so important. And then we'll kind of get into the changes. And just like Mr. Strayer said, this is just to kind of FY ends up as we kind of move to this. But we'll highlight on the next slide what we're currently doing and what we're moving to as far as tracking that attendance.
I don't talk as loud as that, so if you guys can't hear me, just let me know and I'll go to the mic. So, is that
That's a song. Like Milli Vanilli.
Full of all kinds
Well, House Bill 410, basically what they're trying to look at, the big change that they're going to be doing is they're going from days to hours. So for us, we really look at truancy as a huge issue for us, as far as we take it very seriously. Truancy for us is that first red flag. It is that there's probably some other issues that we need to address. Sometimes they're social emotional issues, sometimes they're family issues, sometimes they're health issues. And so for us, we spend a lot of time working on identifying truant children, because there's a lot of other things that we need to try to help put in place. And so I think what's happened with the state is there's definitely been a movement, a change within juvenile court, and we're kind of seeing that as well as with the state. We're ahead of the state as far as what we already do and what we already have in place in our schools. But the goal of this is to get more parent engagement and to get everybody working together better instead of just putting sanctions in place. There is a point where sanctions will have to be put in place for a family if we have not been successful in the meetings that we need to work with juvenile court. So the old, we'll kind of go back and forth between what we had on the old, and this is just kind of a down and dirty. You guys kind of have more of the information on the front. They're really trying to compile all of this together for us. It's something new for them. It's causing quite a bit of headache within juvenile court, children's services, and the schools. The main difference is we used to be able to have 8 parent notes. So parents can call in, you have 8 of those are excused for truancy or for tardies or for whatever that is. Next year, we will have 12 occurrences. So if you have a tardy, that's an occurrence. You have to leave, be picked up, early from school, that's an occurrence. If you are out sick, that's an occurrence. So the next change that we have, there was the 2-day letters that were sent home before. Now there'll be a letter that will be sent home after you have missed 38 hours of a combination of excused or unexcused. This is going to be a big change for our families because they're not used to that. So they're not used to having a letter that's going from court saying your child's been absent 38 hours. So that's something that will be different from them. After 38 hours of unexcused absences, there'll be an intervention meeting. Here it comes. You can go to the next slide, John. So at the intervention meeting, this is kind of some of the qualifications that go along with how things are going to change at this point. So it's 30 consecutive hours, 42 hours of unexcused occurrences in a month, and 72 unexcused occurrences in a year. Did you hear me at all?
The monsoon is having an impact.
Oh, goodness. That's Lisa's slide. Yeah. So this is going to be pretty different for our attendance secretaries, just because of the fact I am talking as loud as I can, I swear.
Yeah. I've got the mic over there. Oh, yeah.
What? Right in the mic? Here, there. Is that better? Oh, okay. All right. I should have had Kyle do this.
Yeah.
So, for our attendance secretaries, this is going to be a huge, huge change for them. They're used to counting days. Now we're going to count hours. So if it is a student has missed 5 minutes of school, that's an occurrence, and that'll go towards the 38 hours. So there'll be a change within the computer system that they hope to have in place. We're hoping that's done in time for the school year. So the truancy intervention meetings, what that will be is on Mondays, there'll be a meeting with myself, juvenile court, and the representative, the truant officer from the ESC. We'll have the families that will come in, we'll meet, and then we will develop a plan for that family on whatever the barriers were to the education and for them to come into school. We'll try to reduce those, and then hopefully the issue will be resolved. If for some reason, this is another big change, if the parent does not correspond with us that they're going to attend that meeting, or if they do not show up to the meeting, a referral will be made to Children's Services. So that's going to be something very different. Children's Services is trying to figure out how they're going to handle that issue. When I say to you that this is a serious situation for us, it makes a huge difference academically what happens to these kids when they do not come to school. We have kids that are gifted kids who have, a lot of times they already put a lot of pressures on themselves. They're perfectionistic. If they don't do an assignment, a lot of times they don't want to come to school the next day because their stomach is sick, because they have a headache. So then they stay home. And then they're fine during the day. They're feeling better. Parents think they're doing better. And then in the evening, when it's time to come back to school, they're not doing so well. They don't sleep. Then they're up all night. Then they're sick again. And so it repeats this pattern where now there's just real ingrained anxiety for these kids. And so for us, it takes a lot of work to stop those things from happening. And the faster we do that, the better result that we get. We have a student that I can think of in one of the buildings that he has had attendance issues. He had dropped from the second highest in his class. He is down at the absolute lowest at this point. Where we struggle in our district is we have a lot of kids that have doctor's notes, so they're excused. And so we have a lot of issues with kids that the parents take them to the doctor. They don't now come to school. They're behind the academics. There's now a gap for this child's education because he's dropped so much. And there's so many things that we have to do to try to help get these families to understand the importance of sending them to their kids to school. This is something that we probably spend, I can't even fathom how much time we spend on this issue. So you can go on to the next slide if you would, John. So currently what we do, we're already, like I said, we're already ahead of where the state is by far. We implemented 2 years ago, we started what was called a student success team. That takes an ungodly amount of time out of the three of us. It starts building grades 6 through 12. What we do in those meetings is we look at every single student in our school district, 6th grade through 12, who's failing, who has social emotional issues, behavior issues, and who is not coming to school. We come up with a plan for each one of those students and try to figure out why they're not being successful. At the high school, we spend 5 hours every other week on those students. Junior high, it's about 4 hours every other week. SI is a little bit shorter with about 2 hours. So this takes up a lot of our time, and it's very important because it makes a huge difference. If we can get those kids on the right track, then what that does to, one, their graduation rate, them being successful in the long run. So that's kind of what we're doing at this point. If we have worked through the SST and we're not really successful there, and we still need more intervention as far as a child coming to school, that's when court gets involved. So that's kind of that next tier that we're at. So the changes are going to be pretty significant for our families. So in the packet that we sent for you guys to go over, there's a parent letter that the county has come up with. There's a attendance policy that they've already drafted for us. We just have to put the times that are going to vary per building. And there's also a tardy policy. They would like for all of us to try to be on the same page in the county so that it makes it a lot easier for them to be able to do what it is that they need to do. Is there anything you guys want to say?
I would, thank you very much. That was very informative.
Oh, thank you.
I really want to reiterate, well, kind of as a summary, this is changing the way that we count attendance as a school district from days absence, correct, to the number of occurrences and the number of hours that accumulate absent. It doesn't matter whether it's excused or unexcused. There's different things that kick in. I really want to reiterate for the mandated intervention meetings, that's something that's already part of our school, as Ms. Ford talked about. I mean, so that's not really different at all. That structure's already built in. That's part of that SST meeting that happens twice a month. So that's not different. That's what Ms. Ford was referring to when we're well ahead of the game for that. So as a district, I feel like we have that foundation where this is going to be very easy to implement. We have the structure and the resources right now to address those attendance issues, because attendance does equal school success. So we do have those things in place right now to address this as this transitions over to the new state law here.
Do you guys have any questions about anything?
So how does it fit in? Normally, I know there's a fear of if I get past those 8 days, then it gets turned over. Is there still that element, or does that fit in?
That element's within the hours. So obviously with the eight parent notes, those are all excused. So once you submit your 8th one, any absence after that, this past school year and years back, it has to be a doctor's note to be excused. What this new policy is going to do, it's still going to allow you to have your occurrences, which is 12. The difference, though, is an occurrence is not a full day. If you miss all day, or if you're an hour late, that's one occurrence. The issue, though, is they're taking into fact doctor's notes and parent notes into that occurrence. So that's going to, with some of these situations we've had where there's been a lot of doctor's notes written, it's going to help monitor that piece a lot closer. And that's why you see the 38 hours, whether it's unexcused or excused. Once you reach your 38, that's going to catch some parents off guard, because you miss 6 or 7 days, you're going to be over.
So what happens at that 38 hour then? Does it get turned over like what it used to be at the 8th?
The main 38 hours you're talking about being turned over is when you talk about unexcused.
Yeah, that's right here.
That's
Now.
the ticket. The excused versus the excused. You'll get an FYI, your son or daughter has missed this many hours.
Okay.
But the unexcused one.
I can't speak for the high school, but I'm sure you guys do the same thing. Even if it's excused, I mean, they can have 38 excused, they can have how many excused hours they want, but if we feel it's beneficial to meet as a team to address why they're missing school, that happens all the time. We don't need this. We go above and beyond that a lot of times just to address, to make sure, what do we have in place to make sure that student comes to school.
When we say we have
that issue for us is significant. We have students that miss 50, 70 some days of school, and they have doctor's notes. So that is a big problem that we have to deal with all the time, because we still have to get them to graduate, and we still have to get them to get their requirements, and they're way behind, and the teachers can't get in their schoolwork because the kids are at school. So it is something that we really battle a lot.
Okay, thanks.
Do you guys have any other questions?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good work.
I have one question. How huge is this impact? You've got 6,000 kids. How many kids are impacted by this? With the meeting those kind of numbers.
Well, it's gonna be, we would have to get that information.
Yeah,
to you
just a
because
wild guess. I mean, like 300, 500?
Not that many. I'd say more.
District-wide,
I'd say maybe 15%.
15%.
I'm just throwing out, I mean, I like
15%.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's what.
Well, it's hard to tell us. This is
It's
gonna,
about 15%. I mean, when I look at the occurrences is the big thing. 'Cause a lot of students have, I mean, if you look at it right now, if you take a 5-day vacation, you've got the flu, you're out for 4 days, and you came in tardy because of the orthodontist appointment or something to that effect, boom, you hear your 12 occurrences. It's one of the new, I mean, my actual video, I'll say my youngest daughter would be at the occurrence level right now. So now she hasn't missed a ton of hours, but as far as doctor's appointments and coming in late with notes, she'd be close to that 12 occurrence right now. So I think we would be, when you talk about the occurrence piece, I think that's really gonna wrap in a lot of kids.
we don't have that data right now either, because we don't track attendance that way. We track it this way right now, so that's why it's difficult to give an accurate answer to that.
And will there be a policy committee convening to redo the attendance policy,
yeah.
obviously?
Yeah.
Because I'm already, as a data person, thinking,
Yeah.
okay, wait a minute, our
This-
policy's way out of whack.
Yeah, this is the first step. We want to
Right.
get the information out, and then we start working on what board policy will look like, and then what will the building policies look like, and how it's going to affect every building. Obviously, you'll be part of that next.
Lucky you.
Wait, did she volunteer to lead that?
No,
Yeah.
I love, well, I like data better than being up at the podium.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, folks. All right, Mr. President, we're able to move now to 3.3. Mr. Cornell, discuss the district nurse contract days.
Mr. President, members of the board, really quickly, last year, we increased the district nurse from 201 days to 230 days because 201 days wasn't enough. And we just went all the way up to 230 because we thought that's what she needed. After doing this year, she doesn't believe 230 is what she needs. She believes she only needs 220 because it's just too much. So it's going to be a reduction in number of days for her contract. That's all we've got.
And reduction salary. You don't get that much when a staff member comes and says you're
Right.
not needing
I
this
don't,
much.
yeah.
Very, very dependable.
Yep.
Questions? All right, Mr. President, moving down to 3.4, the school calendar. This is a proposed school calendar that later on in the meeting we are not approving. We're going to approve at the next board meeting. But this school calendar for you to review was put together in conjunction with administrators, central office people, as well as teachers in the district. The highlights of this this calendar, and this again, this is 2018-19. Last year's calendar is already, or next year's calendar is already set. So we're looking 2 years ahead. We're looking at 3 teacher in-service days again at the start of the year. 13th would be the day when teachers can come the 13th or come another day earlier in the year, kind of a day that they use as they see fit. 14th would be staff convocation. 15th is the day where principals take care of in-services for their building. That then goes into September.
Awesome.
Yeah, goes into September for teacher. Mr. Cannell's checking to see if that's a real warning or what we got. September 28th will be a teacher in-service day. That's been the convocation day the last couple of years. We go into October, or maybe Officer Nicely will help us out too.
Yes, Bill?
Yeah,
We have a tornado warning.
there's a tornado warning
Okay.
near Waynesville, moving northwest, 20 miles an hour.
All right.
I don't know even know where we go.
Do we know where to go, Mr. Franks? Where do you want us?
Mr. Franks, where do you?
Well,
I say right here, let's see if we have a library of acquisition plan.
well, it would, yeah, I mean, that's,
Right here, tomatoes, safety,
We're inside.
teacher's lounge.
well, it would, yeah, the teacher's lounge is where the, where we would, if we need it.
They have food too, I think it's important.
All right, let's go. Next. All right, everyone, make back. So talking about the school calendar, ladies and gentlemen, members of the board. We go to October, teacher in service. November, we have a 3-day Thanksgiving break. This year's winter break, actually, we're going to stay in school all the way that week of the 17th, go the whole week. So winter break is the 24th, but we come back on January 3rd. It's a 2-day week that week, but we'll still get things done that week. It goes to February, there's really no significant things. Now, in March, here's the thing, when you look at March and April, Easter is in April, and it's really near the end of the year. Oh, going back, I'm sorry. The reason that we're starting school so early in August, just as we've done for a few years, is that we're trying to make sure the first semester is done before Christmas break. This calendar does that. In March, we're doing spring break 3 weeks before Easter. So there'll be an entire week off at spring break. Then in April, we're going to take Good Friday and the day after Easter off. We think that coming back to school the day right after Easter, we wanted to try to make this work, and this calendar does. It gets us to the point of the last day on a Thursday, May 23rd, teacher work day the 24th. Everyone's done before Memorial Day, as long as we don't have a winter where we have a lot of snow. And we've had 2 straight years where we haven't had much snow. It's not happened in Ohio in the 24 years I've been as an educator that you had 3 straight years where you didn't hit 5 days. So I just jinxed it. So next year we will have less than 5 days. So any questions about the calendar? All right. President, 3.5 is very simple. It's the 2017-18 Kingdom Participate fee. We are going to ask for your approval later on in the meeting. The reason we're asking for the approval on the same meeting as we presented is because there are no changes from this past year. It's the same fees, high school, junior high, band, color guard, and so forth.
Mr. President, could I ask a question on that?
Yeah, sure.
Stephanie Benjamin, 35 Fry Court. I just want to know how we decide pay to play fees. I've been coming to these meetings almost as long as Stephanie, not quite as long. And I remember they were over 500, and then a new board came in and cut it to 260 or 250. And as you know, I've been sending you emails. I've been doing some digging into the athletic department and budgets, and I just have some questions I'd like you to think about before you vote on it. How do we decide how many coaches are for every sport? How do we decide salaries? I don't think we have a definitive answer on that yet. I was told that the athletic department was going to look at the coaches' salaries. That was what you told me. Maybe we should wait until the review is completed, because as a parent, I don't want to pay more than $260. I really don't. I don't think anybody does, or $160. But I also don't want us to have to go in and get a lot of money out of the general fund to pay for coaches. Because you and I all know that if the athletic department actually looks in and sees things, there are huge amounts of inequalities in the athletic department that need to be fixed. Like I said, I don't want to pay more, but I have a kid in two sports that are cheap. I pay $260. Other sports pay $260. We all pay the same, and we all don't get the same amount of coaches and equipment and everything else. Everything isn't always fair, I understand that. But other school districts, such as Centerville, for their low-cost sports, they give the parents a break. They say, hey, cross-country, normal pay-to-play is $260. Cross-country parents get $45 off. That still gets you, with as many kids as we have running cross-country, it still gets you with over $30,000, and you're still only putting out $12,000. So I really would like you, I felt I was promised that Mr. Rhodes was going to go through and do a scrub and see, because I understand he's new and he wants to look at stuff. But if we vote tonight on the $260, it's in stone. And when he comes back and tells you, hey, I found a lot of, discrepancies and I'm gonna need more money, it's gonna come out of the general fund. And that's not fair. Because the general fund does not need to subsidize athletics any more than it does now. Thank you.
Mrs. Benjamin, I appreciate that, Mr. President, members of the board. Mr. Rhodes is looking into that. I believe the email I received from you was about 2.5 weeks ago that I responded to, I think. Am I right, roughly time?
I sent an email to the board and you answered me. It's, I guess, new because I was sending it to the board, not to you. But I know you're on the board docs, you're on the board thing, but I wanted answers from my board, my elected official board. And the other thing I'd love to see is I would love to see a budget from the athletic department that breaks everything down by sport. That's easy to understand, and I don't know if there's anything like that. I would love to I'll do a records request if there is.
Sure, absolutely.
Can I respond to
And
that?
I appreciate those comments. This is
Hey,
a,
Dan, can I respond to that? I'm
Yes,
sorry. About 5 years ago, David Petroni and Jim Regano went through and analyzed that budget to the T. They captured everything that was in there. That's part of the reason why we found out that the boosters were getting looted. Because those funds, we kept asking how much they were, where they were. Turns out the guy had been, taking them. But they did that 5 years ago. And they went extensively into every sport, not just basketball or cross country or anything like that, but every sport and captured every expense that every coach was putting out there. And I've still got a copy of that. If you want me to, I'll send it to you and you can compare it against what they've got right now. Secondly, I talked to Mr. Adams about the cross country thing, and he agrees with you wholeheartedly and says he's going to have 5 coaches this year. And he's looking for 2 more. And I suggested that he hit the community up. Get on social media and say we need 2 cross-country coaches, because I know there's a lot of women and men that have run that college that would love to coach, but that resource has never been tapped. So he's going to have 5 coaches this year instead of 3, which is, a big upgrade from what they've had in the past like that. But I agree with your point, they spend a lot of money, and it doesn't cost much to run cross-country, but it funds the overall sports community.
That resource has been tapped, because one of our neighbors was a volunteer coach for cross-country this year. Bailey Weber
Still
was.
got 2 more openings.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great thing I think it's a great resource.
Out there. Let's
Yep,
just sit there and
I
ask.
think it's a great idea. Yep.
President, as far as tonight, pay participating fees, if you so desire as a board, we have it for to be approved later on. These are the fees that Mr. Rhodes has given us, as well as discussing with the band and the color guard to not make any changes. Mr. Rhodes is going to do an analysis. That analysis is going to take a little bit of time. And if there are changes that he proposes, then we can discuss that. But at this point, to get things rolling, this is our proposal from our athletic director and our other leaders.
So can I ask a question about that? So to Mrs. Bindeman's point, if he proposes changes that cost money, which if we're proposing doing some equalizing of what the coaches are going to be paid, it's probably going to cost money. How would we right-size that without taking it out of the general fund? Like, would we wait till next year? If we were going to increase, would we just wait for a year, like have him present it? Or if we were going to do a combination of a little bit from general fund, a little bit of increased pay to participate? Is that what we're thinking?
Well, what we do is we wait and see what he comes up with. We've also brought up to the board about the fact that we're the only school district that subsidizes the athletic fund so much. Everyone, the salaries come out of the general fund. And what they make in the athletic fund, what they make from gate receipts and so forth, goes into running the sports. That's a conversation we need to have at some point too. Are we doing the best thing for athletics or not? We don't know. We're going to start with the analysis of the coaches. Do we have the right number? Are they being paid at an equitable manner based upon the work, the weightlifting, the amount of months that certain sports work where others don't, and so forth? So we're waiting to see that. Based upon where we're at now, that's why he's asking for these fees.
I guess it makes sense to me that we need to vote on something right now because we need to get the sports moving. But to Mr. Wiedemann's point, I think that There are some other options to look at, think outside the box, and, until we know what he proposes to us. I'm not a proponent of just increasing everybody's coaching salary and taking it out of the general fund. I just don't think we have the money there to do it, but I think we need to think creatively when this is brought to us.
But if we approve 260, parents they'll be planning on that. So then if we decide we need more money, we're not going to be able to up that. We can't.
No, this is for the next year.
So,
Any
Has to be the whole
changes,
year.
I would assume, and Mr. Rhodes is at our, supporting our track athletes tonight and girls softball. Not sure if they're playing. I don't know where the weather is.
They were, softball was down.
Only by 1 run?
A little bit more than that, but it was the second or third inning.
Don't come back.
I just know that they were down.
But he's there, so some of those questions I don't.
Do you have a sense for when you'll be completed with the analysis?
We want to get through the spring sports season. I believe most of the analysis will be done over the summer.
When are we, I hadn't seen yet, and there's a good possibility I missed it, but I hadn't seen any communication yet out about that we're not going to have the work program to work off the hours. Did that go out in the newsletter? Okay, so I didn't miss it.
No.
Was a possibility that I did.
Nothing's been communicated via that yet. And that'll be something that we will probably make more of a story through the evenings, because it's reaching more homes versus just an individual building.
Don't you guys have something at the beginning of the year for all the athletes? Over the
Yeah,
summer, they
but
bring them on
that will be communicated before the summer, but then really hit.
But kids earn hours over the summer. A lot of kids try to get through all their hours in the summer, because that's when they have time, so we really need to
Mr. Rhodes
communicate
did say
it.
that anyone that has come to him to ask for paperwork or permission looking to next year, he's shared with them verbally it's not going to be next year, so he's been communicating that. But we got to get something out right here. Yeah. Any other questions? Let's move down to committee reports. We have 3 very brief committee reports tonight. Budget and finance, Kara. Yeah, be brief.
The Budget and Finance met on May 12th at 9 o'clock, and we went over the 5-year forecast that is going to be on the board agenda tonight for approval that I did present at the last board meeting during work session. During the Finance Committee meeting, we had went over revenue, personnel, benefits, purchase service, supplies, equipment, debt, and all of our other miscellaneous expenses, as well as I gave a full CCP update and the assumptions going forward. The committee meeting minutes are online, and if anyone has any questions, they can just contact me and I'll be happy to help.
District Parent Council, Beach.
DPC met on May 18th, and we started off with a presentation from Andrea on the 2 new programs. Actually, DPC is very interested in a lot of planning for next school year, so we kicked off with Andrea talking about Project Lead the Way and also Teacher Academy at the high school. And then we talked about next school year on the topics of class list postings, open house dates, and the overall plan, and then also back to school information. So we were able to address a lot of the questions building by building, and we also talked about the fact that all this information will be on the new website. And that leads us to the next topic. New website and notification system. We'll be launching a new website this summer. That will happen midsummer. And all of this back to school information will be the first thing that goes on the new website as far as news items. The new notification system will be launched in the fall, and it will be offering voice, text, and email to all parents without sign up. So we'll be able to have a much broader reach. We also gave them an update on the status of hiring a new communication coordinator, a full-time communication coordinator, and as you know, that's coming before you tonight. So that person has accepted. We're excited about that. And then finally, we talked about next school year and let them know that Mr. Schreier, or the new communication coordinator, will be reaching out to each of them or new council members to make contact and let them know what parents will be serving on DPC 17. And all these minutes are on the website.
Any questions?
Do the DPC members change, or how does that work?
It's my understanding, and this is just based on what I've heard from the past, is typically we look at maybe every 2 years for some changes in the buildings. And so I think the best thing would be is if you had a rotation where if you had someone, like next year, the following year, and then a new person comes on in the middle of that kind of thing. So it's 2 per building. We want to try to have a better, in and out type thing, so. Mr. Martin, any other comments on that one?
Well, no.
Okay. You sure?
I was just going to add something else that we talked about too, as far as the members were concerned, was we also talked a little bit about how to publicize who those members are, because they serve a very, very good purpose for the school district, for our buildings and for our students and communities. So how can we get those names out there as far as who's currently serving? So we did talk about that a little bit as well, and Neve did a great job of leading that discussion, and Bethany as well.
All right. Okay, moving on to the last committee is the Board Policy Committee. We had a brief meeting because we only have 2 policies we're bringing tonight for first reading. Both are new. Neither are new as far as knowledge. For example, the first one is a cash balance reserve, and later on in the superintendent's report we'll have the first reading. But Mrs. Floyd's been talking about that with the board as far as making sure we have a policy on how much we keep in reserve, so we don't get down to a point where we don't have much in reserve. The other one was very interesting, based upon some conversations, actually in some special ed meetings, talking about different allergies of students. We found out, even though Neola has these policies, even though other schools have them, we didn't have a peanut and other life-threatening food allergy board policy. We have these students with different food allergies, and we didn't have a board policy on it. It was a great catch, actually, by our law firm. Caught that, communicated to the administrator, communicated to us, and our school nurse has went through and put together, thanks to Neola, a new policy. But again, that will come in the superintendent's report. Mr. President, that's our committee reports for tonight. Treasurer's report. No, I got no other business. Sorry.
Okay, tonight for your approval, I have the 5-year forecast for the May update that I presented at the last work session. 4.2, we have approval of a donation from Mr. and Mrs. Tokarski of books of Springboro High School. Also an approval of a donation for $20 to the Springboro High School basketball program in the memory of Eleanor Cushman. I believe this will conclude those. We've had them at the last several board meetings, but we had one that came in right after we posted the last board agenda, so we do have this one as well for tonight. Additionally, we have approval of a donation of $7,750 from the Springboro Athletic Boosters to various teams. I believe those teams are listed on here. I can give you this breakdown if you need them. Usually they put them on there for me. But 4.5, approval of a donation of $250 from the chess school to the junior high show choir. And then also the approval of the MOU with the Southwestern Ohio Council of Governments, the COG, that we had talked about also at the last work session. And that's it.
Any questions? We have a motion to accept 4.1 to 4.6.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Anderson?
Yes.
Bath? Yes. Belanger?
Yes.
Lunt?
Yes.
Stuckey?
Yes.
Mr. President, under the superintendent's report, we have 5 items for them we will vote on tonight. The first item is just what I had explained, the first reading of 2 board policies. 5.2 is the second reading of several board policies that we brought last month. All of these came in one of our quarterly updates from Neola. None of these were prepared by us. These were Neola either revisions or new board policies. 5.3, and it is an honor to be able to bring this person to the board. Scott Marshall, many of you met him. He was able to be here before the board meeting, had a personal commitment with family tonight. Comes to us from Springfield City Schools as their district communications coordinator, one of 2 that they have. Actually lives in Springboro, so we have somebody who lives here and wanted to work here. It's a great win-win for us. It's a 2-year contract. We also have the approval of the 2017-2018 school fees. There's just a handful of changes in certain classes. Mrs. Cook, any just quick ideas of some of the changes?
On the
school fees?
School fees, very little. The only changes that are remarkable in my opinion were those in the International Language Department, and those are due to increases in cost of workbooks. The good thing is those workbooks are used for 2 years at a time. So when you see the fee and you say, wow, that's a huge fee, it is a 2-year usage on those workbooks. Other areas, elementaries, $1 change. Junior high school, we have less students taking some of our music courses, therefore we had to increase the fee in order to be able to pay the cost of the music, sheet music. So if you have 60 kids in a choir versus 40 kids in a choir, the cost is going to go up a little bit more with smaller numbers. So we did take into consideration numbers for those fees for the music classes. So those went up a couple bucks.
Thank you, Mrs. Cook. And then the final item of the superintendent's report is the approval of the pay to participate fees that we discussed earlier. The consent agenda is 5.2 to 5.5, Mr. President.
Is there a motion to accept?
Yeah, we'll do a motion and then we,
Yeah.
then the
Okay, I just
second,
wanna
then
accept
then
it
the
before.
discussion. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a motion to accept 5.2 through 5.5?
So moved.
Is there a second? Discussion, please.
Under the cash balance reserve policy, I was reading through it, and I was just wondering, the second paragraph, the third line, it says, "The board affirms and declares it to be a financial philosophy of the board and in the interest of sound financial management. The tax levy shall be pursued and the school district's finances otherwise managed to ensure a general fund balance equivalent to at least 10% of yearly operational expenditures." I guess the word pursued there jumped out at me. I was wondering at that point if we could say it would be discussed, because I know we're putting a number in there because we feel like that's when we, in order to keep it safe for the district, but pursued to me makes a decision that we're definitely gonna do it, and I guess I would like to look at where are we at in the community and feeling like, is this the best time to bring it forward? So that discussing it makes it more of a, let's make the decision and we're not definitely gonna pursue it. Does that make sense?
No, it absolutely makes
Does
sense.
it totally change what we're saying?
No, I don't think so
No,
at
I
all. I
think
think this is a template from Neola. When we were discussing it, the only thing I tweaked on it was to change to the 10% of yearly operational expenditures.
Okay.
But absolutely, that would be fine to change that. We could also even further expound on, the administration and the board can also collaborate on other ideas if we want to prolong that. But it's just a trigger, really. That's all that
Right.
it's doing, is it's showing us that it's a trigger for
And
us to make any decisions.
That's where I thought we were going with it, is this that will be the trigger of the conversation. So when I saw pursuit, I thought, I don't want to necessarily say we're going for levy at this time.
That's an easy change.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Roll call.
I had to put out of that. So, Anderson and then Belanger second?
No, Belanger. I think I seconded it, and Lisa that.
Okay, gotcha. Won't let me save it until you vote. Okay, Anderson?
Yes.
Bab?
Yes.
Belanger?
Yes.
Lunt?
Yes.
Stuckey?
Yes.
Mr. President, we can move down to the Executive Director of District Operations, Mr. Pennell.
Mr. President, members of the board, for your consideration tonight, we have our standard personnel items. We've got a retirement that we were expecting, but he was just late getting it to us, Mr. Wise, so he'll be missed. We have a couple, 3 resignations, 1 certified, and 2 bus drivers. 2 bus drivers want to just sub next year, so that's why they're resigning their positions. We're employing 2 individuals there, 1 at Dennis, 1 at 5 Points. Those are replacement positions for that we had openings for. We have approval of some limited contracts. We just didn't have those at the last meeting when we did the majority of ours. The change in personnel hours, those 2 individuals are changing the amount of hours that they're working. That's part of those 3.5 hours of GIS services that were discussed several months ago. The CCIP coordinator supplemental, and then we've got employment of summer school personnel and Title I summer school extended school year personnel, and some just regular supplemental personnel, and then employee of some classified substitutes. 6.2, approval of the reduction in the district nurse contract from 230 to 220 days. 6.3 is the approval of our normal special ed contracts that we have on a fairly regular basis. And if there's any particular that you want to talk about, we can. 6.4 is the approval of the summary of services with Hamilton County ESC. Majority of our ESC services are handled through Warren County, but we do receive some services through Hamilton County, so we have to have the same type of contract with them. And you'll see from the attachment that's a total of $44,000. So it's not a huge amount, but it's just like Hamilton, it's just like Warren County. We have to approve the contract with them. Plus, then the fees are locked in for this year, and we know if we have to go out and get more services for whatever reason, we know what the services are going to cost us and everything.
I want to add real quick, if I can, to this, Mel, because when we got the services contract from Warren County, there was a line in there that we weren't using, and we took that out and caught that.
Right.
In this contract, there's a whole bunch of those lines.
Right.
Because what they have done is, here is every one of our services, and if you look to the right, there are only 3 areas that we're actually using with them. I believe it's 3 or 4. It's, if I go down through, we are using assisted technology consortium, audiology, hearing impaired program, and visually impaired services. So
Right.
if we were to use any of the other programs, here's the cost, and they just have one company that fill in the holes of what we use or another district. So we're not doing all of it. I just want to make sure that
It took me a minute to figure that out. Because first I looked and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
But
Right.
it's easy to read once you realize that, then we know what it would cost. I like how it was out there.
Right. So 6.5 is approval of 6.1 through 6.4.
What did you say?
Approval of 6.1 through 6.4.
Right.
Okay. Second. Everybody? Okay, I got her. I heard that. So you guys discussion? Yeah, I heard you. Okay. Anderson? Bab? Yes. Galante?
Yes.
Hey, that's
Yeah.
good, don't they?
They work.
They do work when you're talking to them.
And then for your consideration, line item 6.6, it's approval of some additional supplemental positions. These are all related to football, and we separated those out because Mr. Stuckey has to abstain since he's the freshman football coach, and so there it is.
So we have a motion.
Very early to discuss it.
Yeah.
Take it over.
Anyone?
Second, whatever.
Okay, so we need a first on item 6.6.
So moved. Second. I'll second.
Okay, okay. All right, anybody?
Crazy.
Second, vote, roll call. Anderson?
Yes.
Bab? Yes. Okay, so I'm sorry, I said anyone,
Okay, I didn't hear the
okay, no, go
question.
ahead.
My question is, how can we get the full number? Because I keep seeing like, and I'm just using football because it's just separated out in football, but with all the supplementals coming in like this, how do we know the numbers that we're voting on, that we're not voting on like 17 cross-country coaches?
We have a list that actually, as the board approves them, like say some are added, we have a master template that says like mentors, and then it shows how many have been board approved. And then, we'll have, there's so many different supplementals that are educational as well as athletic related. So it'll show us like 3, and that 3 is split by 8 people. Because
Right.
we have 2, 3, 4 people sharing a supplemental. So we actually do have a master list of all of the ones. So this one right here would be just filling whatever this one says. And then, but we can't bring you any additional if the board hasn't approved that number. So when you hear we have 3 cross-country coaches and now we're going to have 5, it's because we've brought in 2 additional. So you'll never see more than 5 names brought unless you approve yet another position. Does that make sense? So the total that was given to us by Mr. Rose of how many coaches are per, there won't be any additional, anything that we're voting on here is within
Those numbers.
Correct,
numbers.
right.
Yeah, and it just takes, I mean, I'm sure John will give it a better
Is
update, but
that-
it takes a long time to get, like, to open the position and to get the code.
Right.
Yeah, oh, I get that. I just
Yeah.
wanted to, they will stay within what Mr. Rose.
Correct,
said.
right, and like in this case, you've got several that are on half contracts.
Yeah, I get
So
that.
there are two people, but it's just that dollar figure that they're gonna get.
Yes, you'll never
Okay,
have.
I just wanted that
Yeah,
confirmation.
you'll never have
All
more
right.
than you guys have approved.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll read it again. Anderson?
Yes.
Bath?
Yes.
Solange?
Yes.
Lunt?
Yes.
Stuckey?
Thank you.
President of the Board Member Reports, 7.1 is step 2. Resolution determining the proceeding of position of
Yes, tonight is the second resolution. This is actually the notice to proceed. So if you guys vote yes tonight, then tomorrow I will go down to the Board of Elections and take the two resolutions the board has approved, as well as the certificate from the county auditor certifying our millage, and then it will officially be on the ballot at that point. So this is the last one before that happens. So it'll be official tomorrow.
So we're right in big.
Hopefully you can hear that, because mine doesn't work as well as his. Is that better? Because I'm like trying to. Look, I have.
Second.
There is a second.
All right. Does anyone want to say anything before I? Okay. Anderson? Babb?
Yes.
Solange?
Yes.
Lunt?
Yes.
Stuckey? Yes. All right.
Mr. President, we're down to 7.2, board member comments and questions.
Monday.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? All right, there we go. Jamie's a little louder. First of all, I just wanted to say that, hey, it's over. We had a great year. Okay, so let's be happy. We accomplished it. We made it through. Okay, and I think we have a lot to be proud of. All of my kids came home thrilled. Even had a couple that were sad that school was out, and I can't understand that, but it must have been really good. So we just need to move forward, build on things, keep things positive, build each other up. A house divided will never stand. And so as we work with each other, if we see a deficiency, instead of knocking them down, we help build them up. And I believe that people here want to do that and will do it. And no one's perfect. We're not perfect. I don't know anyone that is. And so there will be mistakes made. We don't like to have to call out mistakes. It's not the way to do it. The way to do it is to talk through it and move forward and help each other to bring together. And I firmly believe that we can stand together, stand tall and firm, and move on and get better. That's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Lunt. I just want to thank again the students that we had present earlier. I think it was great to hear about the programs and the involvement, particularly around the mentoring. I just love that those older students are able to come alongside some of those younger students and play that positive role, be that positive role model in their lives. And so I'm extremely impressed by the students that spoke with us and all of the students that participate in that programs. I think it's wonderful. I'd echo Dr. Lunt's sentiments just regarding the end of the school year and just congratulations to everybody involved, our teachers and staff and administrators and parents and students. And I look forward to next weekend and commencement. That is, or this weekend, I should say. By far, I think the best thing that we get to participate in as board members to be able to be a part of that ceremony, something that means so much to the individuals involved, and I'm happy that we get to be a part of it. I'd also like just to read some thoughts that I'd written down related to the letter that was delivered to us this evening from Mr. Clark, and just had some thoughts on that I'd like to share. would first like to start by thanking all the individuals who took the time to share their thoughts with us this evening, either in person or through the letter that was delivered to us. I really do appreciate the passion and the input and the feedback. I'd like to spend just a few minutes responding to some of the aspects of communication that were raised in the letter, but I'm not going to address everything. And it's important to note that my comments are my own and don't represent a response from the entire board. But as I've spent time reflecting on the letter and its contents this past week, I'm left with a feeling of disappointment on many levels. I won't get into all of my feelings on the matter, but I will say that in my opinion, it's never been the intention of this board or the administration to dismiss public interaction or to minimize the concerns of parents. And so it's disappointing that some have felt that has been the case, and I for one apologize to the extent that we may have inadvertently contributed to that impression. In terms of the letter itself, I think there are several elements of it that I agree with wholeheartedly. And I suspect that the same is true of other board members and administrators. In the invitation for parents to sign the letter, parents are asked to endorse the need for open dialogue and transparency. And I'd like to think that that is something that we can all agree upon. Where I have a little bit of pause, though, is the suggestion that the board and the administration are not operating in such a manner and that there isn't a commitment to listening to our various stakeholders. In fact, I think it's that commitment to openness and transparency and dialogue that has led this board and the administration to change our meeting rules to make public interaction during work session easier. That same commitment to openness, transparency, and dialogue led us to conduct a staff survey this spring in order to gather feedback on ways to improve. With a similar survey planned for the broader community this fall. That commitment has led us to investigate the implementation of 360-degree evaluations for our administrators through a group called the Center for Creative Leadership, to make changes to our administrative structure to address areas of concern for parents and staff, to add GIS resources to the classroom when a gap in service was brought to our attention by a parent, to drive consistency in posting our committee meeting minutes online, and to seek the community's input in our discussion about the upcoming substitute levy. Those are just a few examples that I think contradict this notion that the board and the administration are operating in a manner where feedback is not sought and acted upon. Now, I think it's important to note that I am by no means implying that this board and administration is perfect. Several others have mentioned that this evening. I believe that, like any of us in this room, there are areas where we can improve. And with the addition of Mr. Marshall to our administrative team overseeing communications, I have no doubt that we will continue to find ways to operate and communicate more effectively as a district. The last point I'd make is regarding our roles as board members and how that relates to our ability to respond, as mentioned in the letter. It is true that we are elected to represent and serve the community, but that service is intended to be one of governance and oversight. In their guidance to school board members, the Ohio School Board Association states that true governance leadership happens at the big picture level. To help maintain that focus, we as board members should allow the superintendent and staff to take care of the day-to-day operations of the schools, watch them as they perform, and give them the tools they need to put out the fires as you give guidance from the helicopter overhead. I would say that overwhelmingly, in my opinion, the vast majority of communication that we receive as board members relates to an issue that is administrative in nature and falls under the day-to-day operations of the district that we have delegated to the superintendent and staff per the OSBA Code of Ethics. And so when we receive those communications, it's not that we don't care about the issue being raised or that we're not listening. It's that the issue doesn't fall into the board's direct area of focus. We received 3 emails this past week related to an athletic coach's pay, for an example. And without making a judgment on the legitimacy of those notes, or that issue, I feel it's best addressed first by our athletic director. And so consequently, those notes were forwarded to his attention. He'll then do the job that he's paid to do and will evaluate those inquiries and ultimately make a recommendation to the superintendent and board if necessary. And the reason it works that way and they're handled that way is really twofold. First, it's a matter of efficiency in getting parents an answer. Because our focus is on that policy and governance, we're typically not aware of the administrative details of the question that's brought to us. So even if we did feel compelled to weigh in on that particular item, it requires us to discuss the issue as a board and get the facts from the appropriate staff or administrator in order to formulate a response. For these reasons, it's more efficient to point these questions to the appropriate administrator or staff member to respond. And the second reason, and maybe the bigger reason, that we don't typically weigh in on these administrative matters is that by doing so, we have the potential to undercut the people we employ to handle those day-to-day activities. Using the example from earlier, if the board inserts itself into that decision to adjust the coach's salary, when we might as well not employ an athletic director. That example extends to any staff member or administrator. If they know that people can simply go to the board when they have an issue, and you know, we're going to circumvent that, I think it breaks down. If I go back to the guidance to board members from the OSBA, it states that when micromanaging is the rule instead of the exception, roles and responsibilities are muddied, time and resources are wasted, and we make much more work for ourselves than is necessary. It's for those reasons that we try to keep our focus at the strategic level as we're called to do, and we therefore push those administrative issues to the proper place in our chain of command. As I stated earlier, I think the board and the administration have shown a commitment to transparency and listening to feedback that is brought to us, and I think that commitment will lead us to take the feedback we received tonight to heart and continue looking for ways to improve how we operate. Again, I thank everyone for their input and for taking the time to let me share these thoughts.
My board comments are going to be a little bit different than I anticipated tonight because it took a little different turn of events. My approach is a little bit different than others with the board. We're all 5 individually elected officials, and we're to...
Warning.
What?
Warning effective now.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, no, but then that one.
What?
I think so. Okay. Thank you for that. Appreciate that, Charles. So, I'm not going to talk a lot about this because I have a really happy thing that I want to share at the end, and that was the purpose of my comments tonight, and that's how I'm going to end it. But I do want to address a little bit the comments that were made earlier this evening. When I came to the board meeting, I was asked to step down by the board. And the email that they're referencing, I was not behind this petition. When it was sent to me, I was very concerned that it would be looked at as a negative towards the teachers. So when I read it, I said, that's a strong petition, but not offensive. And that's what the email says. And I stand behind that. And what is in the petition, I also stand behind, because I do feel like we have some communication issues that we are working on in the district. And this is not news to me and the board and me and the administration. These are some things that I have been bringing up for quite a few months. So I was not at all behind the creation of the petition by any means. So in stating that, that was incorrect. But I do stand behind the concerns that are there. And I do think that we need to look at things and say, what can we do? We need to listen to the concerns of the parents and say, what else can we be doing to improve? I mean, Jamie said the same thing, that there are some things some concerns that we have that we need to look at. And our approaches might be different. Some agree, some we agree with, some we don't. But we just need to look and say, what can we be doing? Our community, our parents are the people that we're here for. It's their kids. It's the community. They're the taxpayers, the reasons that we're here. So we need to make sure that we're communicating and that we're taking care of the kids and doing what's best in the best interest of the kids. The emails that are referenced, I was forwarding to my own home address. They're concerned that I had these comments, that I had conversations with my husband. That's why I sent them home, was so that I could easily have communications and talk through some things with my husband. Once Tara mentioned that she felt that that was a break of a code of ethics, I stopped. She talked to me about it and I stopped. So if that's what's being referenced, it made it sound like I was purposefully sending on students' information to other people to break a FERPA law. That did not happen. That would never happen. So there's some things that were stated in the comments that were very misleading, that I did not know what was going to be read. But I don't remember what else was said because I was very taken back by it. For anybody that really knows me, you know my heart is to do what's best for the kids and make sure that's what's happening. And that's what I'm going to continue to do, and that's why I'm not stepping down from the board. On a happier note, this is being shared with permission from the parent who I found it on Facebook. And this is from a parent at Clear Creek whose child is getting services with the special education department. And this is what the statement said. A question I am asked, and he said I could use names and everything. A question I am asked frequently but unable to answer is, how's Lily doing? It's so hard for me to answer this because the answer is both complex and emotional. So I typically resort to the typical answer, she's good and the dog is helping, because we have a service dog. Well, for those of you that asked me this question and would like more substance, here's the end of year highlights from Lily, from her teacher. We are so happy with Lily's results from the past year, and know it wouldn't have happened without all of the help everyone gives our girl. Thank you all to all of those teachers, aides, therapists, etc., who work tirelessly to help our special girl navigate this challenging thing called life. Thank you to all of our family, friends, neighbors. We are so grateful to everyone who has played a role in helping us with the most challenging thing Katie and I have ever had to deal with. We love you all. And what followed was a document that it was called Highlights for Lily. Hang on. You're not going anywhere, I'm guessing. And there was different highlights here with different categories. The first one was independence. Lily has made so much progress over the past 2 years. She can walk to the bathroom, lunchroom, specials, and recess with her class or by herself with something when prompted. And then she went through, and this is how she's doing with friends, and this is how she's doing in her academics. And so for this parent who doesn't know how to answer because life is just so overwhelming for them, to have gotten this from a teacher who was able to look at every single specific area, what an encouragement. And it was interesting because I replied to the comment and I said, this is just an example of one of the amazing teachers that we have in Springboro. And this is the dad's response. He says, you're right, Lisa. And it was, the teacher is Bethany Scanlon. Bethany is fabulous. On a scale of 1 to 10, she is a 1,000. There's good teachers and great teachers, and then there are those rare few like Bethany. Amazing. Katie and I are so fortunate to have had her as Lily's teacher. We are so pleased with Springboro schools. Everyone from the bus, and listen to all these people that build into Lily's life. Everyone from the bus drivers, Terry and Julie, and bus aides, Lisa and Mr. Sam, to Lily's aides, Shelley, she's awesome, to Mr. Tim, the janitor, who always greets Lily with a smile. They are all amazing people, and Lily loves them all, as we do too. We appreciate everyone who works hard to make Springboro schools what they are, wonderful. And that was from Steve and Katie Agenbrode. So just, you read stuff like that, and we go through difficult times, and it's easy to lose focus. But when I see stuff like that, and you see the number of people that build into one life, and the difference that it's made for this family, those are the things that keep you going and keep you fighting for what is right, because you've got little lives here that are being impacted by people that are just building into them and care for them so much. Thank you.
I would just kind of like to piggyback on Darren's comment about maybe he and I are too idealistic in our thinking, but I'm always going to look at the glasses half full, and there are problems. Everybody has problems. They're in a school district or a business or any institution that doesn't have problems, and we fall short. It's just, it seems like here with a certain number of people that if you fall short, you're not helped up. It's kind of, you're shoved down, and then it's highlighted and then expounded on, and then just, so instead of having some grace in our lives, we seem to just want to accentuate what's wrong, and Anybody can jump, anybody can do that. That's easy. But reaching down and pulling the next person up, that's hard. But it's a worthy cause. And these teachers do that. I think we're all in agreement up here that these teachers do that all the time. And I feel like the administrators do that as well. And there's not a building principal in this room or in this system that won't reach out to try to help somebody with their child. So sometimes we get away from the communication I've been here for 35 years, and I haven't seen any more transparency and communication any more than any of the previous years. So Dan Schreier and his team and Tara, we're fortunate to have treasurer and a superintendent of their caliber. And are they right all the time? No, nobody's right all the time. But the cohesiveness and the spirit of working together with, for example, the Chief Krytoff and the police department, the SROs, and I mean, it's we never had this in the last few years. So, you know, we should all be applauded and commended for spearheading that. And now a lot of that goes to Dan since he's been here. So the building principals, a lot of them are new to their buildings. They've been there, what, maybe a year, or at the most 2 years. And superintendent's new. You know, we just need to be pulling each other up, and everybody in here has a piece of that. So as a board member, that's why I got on the board. Besides my daughter badgering me to do that, but got on the board, so we got rid of the old days, and we aren't going back. We're moving forward, whether we like it, anybody likes it or not, and we're going to do what's best for kids, and that's what we're always going to do. So that's it.
A couple things. Obviously, graduation, nobody said anything about that. It's Sunday, 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock, Nutter Center.
We've got our gowns here in the road to make sure we take them home, bring them out there. Lastly, I want to read something.
Hold on, Mr. Stuckey. Mr. Martin, the board, you would like them there at 12:30?
Oh,
Sunday morning, 8:30. We're going to do all throughs.
it's not going to happen.
I would say no later, to be honest, I'd say if you get there by 12:15 and get your gown and stuff on, because we'll start lining up at 12:40.
McLean Gym, you want them at
McLean
12:15?
Gym, lot 9.
Park in the back, yeah. All right,
That's
thank you.
where they'll fit us for our roads and help us put on.
Yes.
I'm hoping they got the wide angle through.
Yeah, for that, so.
Thank you.
As board president, I wish to publicly acknowledge Amy Byrne, Clear Creek principal. Soon after her employment as principal, the district discovered several issues in her building that needed addressed. She has worked diligently to address these issues, considering that Clear Creek has over 900 and she's really the only administrator that is hired for that job. It's difficult, and I feel very happy that she's done her best effort. Unfortunately, there's been a great deal of misinformation. I've known Amy as a professional for a long time, and I know what kind of educator she is, and I know she would never do anything that was not in the best interests of the kids. And I just want to say that I appreciate your effort and time this year. Eric, you have anything you want to say?
I've been here almost 4 years. I had a year with a different makeup on the board, and I am thrilled. I love working with Dan. I think all of our administrators are all rock stars. Amy, you're a rock star. I love all of you guys. And this is, honestly, for me, this is the best that it's been since I got here, and I really hope that we can all stick together and continue on this awesome journey.
I think there's a siren in the distance. Again, if I can have 1 minute and we can get everyone out into the storm. All right.
Funnel out eastbound on 73 heading towards Harvey'sburg.
Okay,
Don't know that.
Away from us.
good, thank you. First, the negative thing, unfortunately, our girls softball team narrowly lost tonight to Mason. I just saw that. So narrowly lost to Mason. But congratulations on a great season for a great bunch of girls. I gotta tell you, I've enjoyed a lot of teams visiting with them this year, but that team of girls on our varsity softball team has just a pleasant, positive attitude and just uplifts all their teammates. I've really enjoyed getting to know them. Unfortunate loss tonight, but a great year. Quentin Webb is a state qualifier in the discus throw. We just got that word. Congratulations, Quentin. We don't have any other results going to state that I've gotten.
We just started the 3,200 girls relay.
That should be a big one for us.
Rain delay.
They're running now?
Yep.
Two other quick comments I want to make. I got an email today from John Stackler. He wanted to come tonight, and I wanted to read some of the accomplishments real quick of this lacrosse team. And these are his words. With the lacrosse season coming to a close, I wanted to provide you with an update on how our inaugural season went. Again, thanks to the Board of Education for making this a sport here at Springboro. First, from an administrative level, the support we received from Austin Rhodes, Jen Runchie, and the whole athletic department could not have been better. From getting the coaches board approved and certified to fielding calls from other athletic directors, it was outstanding. Next, the work the athletic department put forth in managing the tournament was great. Our date ran smoothly despite the fact many other sports were also competing in the tournament. The hard work of John Pinnell cannot go unnoticed, he says. John's job description requires him to be pulled in several directions at once, but he was always available to help us at Wade Field. Now, the lacrosse program produced some amazing statistics this year. Check this out. Boys team finished 14-2. That set the club record with the most wins of the season at 14. The boys also had the highest Division I region ranking at 2, as well as the highest state ranking at 14. The team had the best win percentage in a season, and most importantly, the varsity boys head coach, Jeff Wolkoff, was named the Coach of the Year for the entire region. The girls also had a very successful season despite the toughest schedule in Division I girls lacrosse. They ended their season at 9-10, but with that record, the girls still ranked 4th in the region. They made it to the 3rd round of the state tournament, wins over Lakota West and Mason before losing last Tuesday to Sycamore, who's actually the favorite to win the state championship. Congratulations to Coach Peeler and Coach Randall, who gave it their all this season. A great first year for our girls and boys lacrosse team. Final thing, I've been sharing with the board about our inaugural Leadership Academy to start next year. Not my idea. We did this at Butler Tech. Typically, we would have 8 to 10 administrators apply for the Leadership Academy, where over a year we will have 12 days of meetings to learn about school finance, to learn about school public relations, most importantly, to learn about servant leadership, to learn about character leadership, to learn about leadership in extracurricular activities. I'm pleased to tell you that 34 staff members applied for this Leadership Academy. That includes current administrators, teachers, and support staff. The reason I say support staff, and I brought this up to the staff, we actually had a custodian do this at Butler Tech because that individual wanted to someday to be the John Pinnell of Butler Tech. And so we wanted to offer this to anybody because they would have leadership aspirations in this district to develop our bench strength. Now we're going to have to select 12 to 15 out of this group, and we have ways to communicate that. But I think the future is bright with this amount of people that want leadership roles, want leadership training, and I think it goes a lot to show with the type of leadership philosophy that we as an entire team have exhibited this year, and this staff wants to be a part of it. Mr. President, that's my report tonight. We do need an
We have an
executive session.
executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, compensation of a public employee or official. Have a motion to move into executive session.
So moved.
Second? Second. Roll call.
Peterson?
Yes.
Bath?
Yes.
Solonic?
Yes.
Swan?
Yes.
Stuckey?
Yes. There will be no action afterwards.